Well, a good Saturday morning to you. Welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Show. We're coming to you today from what is called Lupe number 2. Yep, Lupe Tortilla and the Tailpipes and Tacos cruise in. Yeah, we're kind of wondering about the weather ourselves here in Houston, Texas. Wherever you're watching us around the globe, we thank you for joining us this morning. Our show will begin in about 5.5 minutes or so, but this is kind of our test run, a little preview of the preview, you know, getting all settled and everything. We're all here. Mike Mars, Conrad DeLong. Look, Jeffrey Zekin is here. We need more Jeff.
Hello.
And then there's the famous David Ainsley.
And they're both in the corner.
Hello.
They are. So everybody is here, and we're ready for you. The only people that really aren't here, well, we've got a couple of cars here, but we were just sitting and chatting about how many people are going to actually show up today because of the weather and the threatening showers that are now off to the southwest of Houston. I'm watching the radar here. And one of them is coming up the Southwest Freeway. And there just happens to be a beautiful Boss 429 sitting out in the parking lot. I'm sure he lives close by.
A big award winning. He's got some serious awards
Really?
for that car.
Well, that's a beautiful car. And do we have a shot of the outdoors out here? Can we show the car?
It's not quite in view.
Why not?
Well, bend the camera over and show it.
You want to go?
We're gonna bend the
go,
camera.
Yeah. Would you want to go over there and kind of maybe
Sure.
shoot the camera
Let
that
me
that
bend
way?
the camera before
That's
we put
okay.
the shot.
I mean, you got to think, Boss 429 Mustangs are pretty rare. 70 or 69?
Just go
69.
ahead, put it up.
Pretty
there.
rare breed.
This is the preview. This is the underground. This is the back room, so to speak.
He's got
So Jeff's going to go over there, and he's going
awards.
to.
Oh, I would imagine so.
And David, he can see it. He's got a view there.
There you go, yeah.
There, can you see it now? Yeah.
And apparently he has several cars.
There
Does
it
he?
is. There it
He
is.
felt like that when
You
he
only
needed to
drive
get out
one at a
today.
time?
And what's the other
Yep.
car on the other side of it? Is that a Pantera?
Yep.
Wow.
No.
A Mangusta. He called it
Mangusta.
yeah, but isn't that a Pantera? Mangusta
Di
Pantera?
Tommaso.
De Tomaso Pantera.
No.
No?
Di Tommaso Mangusta.
Really?
You know-
Alejandro Di Tommaso built the Pantera, but he also built the Mangusta.
Oh.
They're two different cars.
I didn't
Did
know
not
you
know
knew
that.
Italian.
You have to practice your
I'd go there, but it's an old Frank Sinatra joke. Well, hi, Kathy Shaw and Nancy Shaw. How are you?
go.
Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yeah. So we are there is another Tailpipes and Tacos going on today, and that's the one out in Katy where we normally are. But Stan decided that we need to come down here and give them a little love down here at Lupe 1. Let me explain to you where
no, we're at Lupe,
Lupe
2.
2. Let me tell you where Lupe 2 is. It's on 59, I-69, the Southwest Freeway here in the Houston area. And this is what we call inside the loop. We're kind of between the loop that goes around Houston and downtown. And we are between Shepherd Drive and Kirby Drive, right off the freeway. And we invite you to stop by. Have a taco. There's tacos here. There's coffee here. I assume that there is going to be Bloody Marys and.
Yep, they said it was going to be. They said it was going to be the same menu it was out at Katy.
Okay.
Easy.
Yeah, no, I got to pace myself today because later on this afternoon, Jeff is going to be helicoptering down to Galveston.
You giving him a ride?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
He's got his own private aircraft.
There you go.
And he's going to fly down to Galveston to perform at the Galveston Yacht Club.
Right.
The
Marina Bar and Grill.
Marina Bar and Grill. Then that's going to be tonight. So you've got plenty to do, and we're inviting you to join us here, and then later join us down there.
So is that for all the yachties?
Yep.
Yes, they're going to play yacht rock
Yacht
radio
rock,
music.
There you go.
Hey, David.
And we know you're a
Jeff
huge
says we need to bump up a little bit.
Do what?
bump up the sound,
Talking to
outbound
David.
sound.
Oh. Well, at any rate, so this is all the technical stuff that happens before the show actually officially begins.
Well, it happens
going down
during
to
the show
Galveston?
and after the show. Are you going to Galveston, Don?
I'm thinking about it seriously.
Are you?
I am. I'm thinking about it seriously.
Well, let me know if you do.
Okay, are you going to go to...
We're going to be at Crystal Beach. I mean, it's an hour. Becky's not going to be down there, and I usually not allowed
we don't
to
want
go.
to know what you
I'm usually not
do.
allowed to go by myself to things like that.
Well, it's
So
going
I
to be...
figure if I go with you,
There's
it'll
a
be
story
worse.
in there somewhere.
It'll be
you
worse.
can stumble onto the ferry and get back home
That's
that way.
right.
That's right.
I think he stumbled on a Mini-Ferry in his time.
He stumbled off a few of them, too.
Could you turn my headset down just a little bit, David? Because it's like, that's perfect. It was a little bit loud, and I know that I'm hard of hearing, but not that bad. Thank you. So at any rate, we've got a full show coming up today, and if we're going to have some of the guests that are showing up now here at the Lupes.
Gina just joined us on
Tailpipes
Facebook.
and Tacos. Thank you, Gina. Is she over in Mobile?
Yes, I'm assuming
so she's in
yeah.
Mobile, and I assume that it's raining over there. It's been raining most of the week along the Gulf Coast, so whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I saw a note from her, I think, early this morning that they had some blue skies over there finally.
Oh, well, we're hoping to have that here tomorrow. But in the meantime and in between time, we are going to start our show here. And are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Everybody ready?
Yes,
Good.
sir. Three bags full.
All right, well, here we go. Stand by. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show, today coming to you live from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex restaurant on the Southwest Freeway between Shepherd and Kirby. Our guest today will include a bunch of car owners making today's cruise in. Mr. Mars is going to review the 2021 Ford F-350, which they can't build enough of.
It's a big one.
We'll have your weekly events calendar and give you the stories making automotive news headlines this week. That and more just ahead on today's In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, April 17th, 2021. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Zekin, His Highness Chief Engineer, Mr. David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us this morning. It's a little bit on the chilly side. We've finally got some cool air in here. And there's a big chance of rain, well, 50% chance of rain. Some of the showers moving up the freeway. We'll see if they make it up this far. But, you know.
Say hi to Katy. Katy just joined us.
Hi, Katy. Katy Armstrong in Denver. She's going snowboarding this morning. I talked to her yesterday. And
We may do that this afternoon.
we may. If the temperature
on how
keeps
cold it
dropping.
gets, right?
Yeah. But it actually feels really good after
It does.
all of the heat and the humidity and the rain that we've had all week long. We've got a lot of car stories to tell you about, and we're going to get to that. Mr. Mars, how was your week?
It had a good week.
Oh, that's good. I had a very interesting conversation on Thursday with a fellow by the name of Billy Stabile. And he owns a company called the Hollywood Car Company in Hollywood, California.
Really?
And he supplies most of the cars
For movies
for
and
movies.
TV shows?
Yes.
Neat.
And so I was interviewing him because I was doing an article for Bay Area Houston Magazine on Ford versus Ferrari. And those are the actual theme show cars that are going to make an appearance at Keels and Wheels in a couple of weeks.
Correct.
And I had a really hard time trying to find some information on the Ferrari 330 P3, which is the one that appeared in the movie. Actually, there were several of them. And he had 6 of them built at a company up in Michigan. I'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, this particular one is going to make an appearance at Keels and Wheels.
So he was the one who supplied those vehicles to the movie.
Along with everything else.
Oh,
He
cool.
supplied 60 cars.
Oh,
60
wow.
cars, to the Ford versus Ferrari. The Cobras, all of the different cars that you saw in the movie, he supplied them. And when I talked to him, he was working on some, I don't know, movie or television show and didn't have time to talk. I'm going to have to call you back. We see it.
I'm trying to get Jeff to switch the video out there.
Okay. So at any rate, it was a very interesting conversation, and we are going to have him as our first guest at Keels and Wheels at 8 o'clock on
cool.
Saturday morning, because his dad started the business, and he supplied all the cars to American Graffiti,
Oh,
and he also supplied the cars to Knight Rider, amongst other movies that you would want to know about. So the guy is a fascinating guy.
sounds like it.
Yeah, and he is buried deep into the movie industry. So, you know, when you see whatever cars that you see in a movie, chances are pretty good that he's the one that supplied the cars.
How cool is that?
So that's going to happen at 8 o'clock in a couple of weeks when we make an appearance
Yeah.
at Keels and Wheels.
It'll be May the 1st. And that's really a good thing. That's great timing because Aaron Shelby,
yes,
grandson of Carol Shelby, is going to be there, and he's going to be joining us in that first hour or two. He's going to join us early in the morning.
Yeah. So we're going to have a whole bunch of really great guests at that event. And we're seeing more cars come in here, as a matter of fact. I see a Studebaker. Is that a Studebaker Hawk?
I believe it's a Hawk.
Yep. And there's the Ford GT, a nice red one with white stripes that has just pulled in. So we're going to have some cars, it looks like, here today. I'm glad to report. And don't forget, this is the Tailpipes and Tacos event. And our manager, Pablo, walking across the parking lot right now, supplying all the tacos and coffee and cocktails that you'd like to have on your Saturday morning.
If you're not here, get here now.
Yeah, and not only is this just a car event, this is also a spectator event.
Right.
So we invite you to stop by. You're out and about, running errands this morning, get to see some really cool cars, have a taco, and be on your way to the Academy next door. Or I don't think Twin Peaks is open yet.
Not yet.
Right. Yeah, well, that's a good thing. But Academy looks like they're getting ready to open. They're right next door. So that's really your landmark. They got the biggest sign on the block here, and it's between the Shepherd and Kirby exits. If you either way, coming or going, you exit Shepherd Drive. And going northbound, you make a U-turn. If you're headed southbound, go through the light, and we're on the right-hand side.
On the southbound service road.
Yeah. We're not on the freeway.
No, but on the service road.
We are.
But
actually, we're not on the service road. We're off to the side of the service road.
Okay. Some cool cars showing up, though.
They are.
A Di Tommaso Mangusta.
Uh-huh. And you know, the interesting that I knew this was going to happen. The interesting thing is that these guys that do these cruise-ins, for the most part, some come from distance, but others are usually neighborhood cars within maybe 5 or 10 miles.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we're in an area of Houston that is a nice upper crust of Houston. Can I say that?
And there's a good collection of cars stuffed away in some of these garages nearby.
Garages and warehouses.
And that's what's showing up.
Yeah, it's very nice. What is that, a 62 Nova?
No, I'd say 66, 67.
67.
Yeah, how can you tell the difference between this?
60, what, 7?
7? 67.
Thank you very much.
He'll have to tell us how I can tell the difference between the two.
I love the car.
No, the
hood
lines.
Taillights?
You did say upper crust. I think you all are crusty.
We are.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt about
that. It's a gorgeous Nova, though.
So at any rate, that's what we got going on today. Mr. Mars, are you going to get the guy from the GT?
Yeah, he's really got engaged in a conversation over there. So let me go.
Well, unengage him and bring him over here, and we'll engage him over here, if you can, or any of those guys.
The 69.
Okay. Well, whatever you'd like to do.
Or we could just call him out here and tell him to come on.
We don't have a microphone cable quite long enough to go out there. Well, I guess we could string enough together. Huh?
Just scream.
Just scream. Exactly. Well, we'll do that.
Well, David's a screamer, I guess.
There you go.
We've got a lot of news stories today to get to as well. And also, I wanted to welcome our new sponsor, the Bayway dealerships, namely Bayway Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, Bayway Chevrolet, and Bayway Lincoln, all managed by a guy by the name of Lincoln Stahl. Convenient, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Really a nice guy. He's the right-hand man of Daryl Wisniewski, and who owns the Bayway brand. And we got a lot of great things planned for this partnership. And one of the things that I propose, we haven't decided on a date yet or when and how it's all going to happen. I was talking to David about it last night. But we plan on going to see the Daryl Wisniewski collection.
Oh,
and I think that I've mentioned this before. It's in a secret hideaway, and we're not going to disclose that. But inside, there are probably, I'm just guessing, 3 or 4 dozen of classics, really cool cars, or very unique cars.
But cars of Mr. Wisniewski's passion.
And a lot of 60s and early 70s, really, and all the majority of the cars are all restored or are totally original to the original condition.
That's
and you never
unusual.
see a collection like that. But it is truly. So we're planning on.
Well, I remember you telling me, too, when you got a chance to kind of preview it, he knows the story behind every car.
Yes, he does.
You
And
know,
that's why he bought them.
Yeah.
Okay? And so it's going to be – we're going to try to do that, I think, this summer if we can. But it's going to take quite an effort because we're going to walk around. That'll be a first for us. At least we're going to try to walk around through the collection.
Cool.
And I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to play out, but we're really looking forward to see all of that. And that's...
Well, there's some cool collections here in Houston that various people have.
So we wanted to welcome the Bayway bunch, and thank you very much for helping us do this program. All right, Mr. Mars, would you like to go ahead and introduce our guest?
Yeah, we've been talking about this Mustang, this Boss 429 Mustang, since it rolled in this morning.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Eric Lipper is the one that drove it in, and instead of us talking like we think we know about it, he knows everything
about it.
Well,
I'm sure that he does. Eric, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for coming out.
Well, it's so nice to meet you guys.
Well, you too. I'm sure that you've heard about us because our everything precedes us.
Yeah. Good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
It's always precedes
Our
us.
names have been written on men's rooms' walls for decades now.
And shown in the post office.
Yeah, it's shown in the post office. So, are you live around here?
I do. I live a couple of miles away.
You know, we were just talking about that. I don't know whether you heard us or not, but, you know, these cruise-in type of things is real easy for the people that live around here to come to a deal like this because if it looks like it's going to rain, boom, I'm home.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you can go look at that car. It has never been in the rain.
Well, let's hope that
And
it
we
doesn't
hope that
get
it
into it
doesn't get
today. Yeah.
So tell us about it.
So that is a 69 Boss 429. It's number KK1658. So all the Boss 429s all got a number that was KK because Carcraft put the motors in the car. That car, it was interesting. A lot of these cars kind of got destroyed in the 70s. This is one of them. That car was bought new in Ohio, blew up the Boss motor, pulled it out, put a 351 in the car, and then drove it in salty roads in Ohio, and it got rotted.
That's any road in Ohio.
Exactly.
Even in the summer.
All I know is if I showed you the pictures of the restoration of that car, you would not believe it because there was virtually everything sheet metal in the car got touched. You know, and
It looks so original, though.
well, I'll tell you why it looks that way. First is every part that went back in the car was NOS Ford stuff.
That's hard to find.
And we were lucky because even though they had spun a bearing on the motor, we had
You found the motor?
No, they had the motor. They pulled
They
the
kept
motor.
it.
Yeah, they kept the engine.
Wow.
So it's a numbers matching. If you go look at that car, and this is kind of a neat thing about it, it's a Antique Automobile Club of America national champion, that car. And if you go look at a Visa card from the AACA, there's a Boss 429 on the Visa card.
It's that car?
It is
So
that
I'm
car.
assuming you have that Visa card.
I do.
Strange.
And you know, I'm a car guy like all of you.
Are you a Ford Mustang guy?
Pretty much. I'll tell you, I'm a little bit schizophrenic on what I collect. I've got Shelby's, Mustangs, and 63 split window coupe Corvette. So
Nice.
So I can play with everybody on the Chevy side.
Yeah,
And I've got two XKEs. I love the XK.
The Jags,
What a beautiful
Yeah.
car.
Yeah, and I think everybody that collects cars has to have an XKE just so you either get that or a psychiatrist.
Or both.
Exactly.
So verts or hard roofs?
One's a coupe, one's a convertible. And the convertible was a one-owner car that I bought in Norman, Oklahoma that had also rotted away. And I took it out to California and had a fabulous restoration shop do it. 4 years later, the car is absolutely perfect. But that was kind of probably my last major restoration.
So I want to know how you got involved in cars and all of that. Does this go back to childhood?
It does. I'll tell you, I grew up here in Houston. I'm a Westbury High School graduate.
Oh, my God, because so am I.
Are you?
He was probably a few years
Well-
before you.
Well, I'll tell you, I grew up right over there. I worked at Russell Smith Ford as a kind of a floor sweeper.
I worked across the freeway at Richardson Chevrolet.
Okay, sure. Well, so I just always liked cars. I was really lucky. I grew up in the early to mid 70s is when I was in the car world, and there were 66 Mustangs everywhere. And my next door neighbors had 66 Mustangs, and fortunately, they wrecked them all the time, and so they were always taking them apart to fix them. And I learned how to do it, and been a car guy my whole life.
What do you do now?
I'm a lawyer. Is kind of my day job, but I've got a airplane charter business, little real estate here and there.
We
You
may
got your
need
fingers in all the pies.
we may need your business card of the attorney's office.
I will tell you that I'm into all things bad, according to my wife, because I also collect antique airplanes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And old boats too. So just.
Are you coming to Keels and Wheels?
I am.
Awesome.
Are you
So-
displaying at Keels?
I am, and I'm a Lakewood member, and so that Boss 429 is going to be there. I've got a 66 GT350 that's going to be there, and the XKE convertible is going to be there.
Very nice.
And we'll be there.
Well, good. Well, I will tell you, the 66 GT350, if you really are into Shelby's, is car 889, and I don't know why I remember all this stuff, but it's a carryover car. So
I was hoping that wasn't somebody's car.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that's the garbage man.
yeah, I'm glad it's not a Boss 429.
The first thing he did, he looked over at his car.
I'm like, I have seen more things in life,
Yes.
So, but anyway, our 66 GT350 will be there. The theme of the show this year is Ford versus Ferrari.
Right.
And the show, of course, got a little disjointed at Lakewood because we got canceled last year.
Because of COVID. Yep.
And y'all probably know Bob Fuller.
Yes.
Very well.
And Bob's been sick.
He's struggling.
And so there's other guys at the club that are picking up the show.
Yep.
And Bob is still going to be there. I've seen him.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting well, but he needed to kind of hand off the reins this year.
Yeah,
So,
I talked to him this week, as a matter of
yeah.
fact. Yeah.
Well, he's a great guy. It really doesn't much to do with our show, but he's the reason I'm in Lakewood Yacht Club. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful facility.
It
You
is.
know, and a facility that puts on a wonderful show, to me, a nationally recognized show, and it's all volunteers from the club that come handle it.
Yeah.
And they're all so gracious and helpful as you're wandering through trying to figure out where stuff is.
Yeah, and I think and the show has really gotten national
Oh,
prominence.
very much so. Very,
because
very much so.
I'll tell you, the shop that restored my XKE is in Oceanside, California. And when they heard that I was putting the show in Keels and the car in Keels and Wheels, they were thrilled because they knew what the show was.
Good.
Now there may be one other really interesting thing at Keels and Wheels this year, and this was so exciting. I just did this 2 weeks ago. I got an Aerovault trailer, if you know what that is. So, You know who Peter Brock is?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Peter Brock and his wife Gail started a trailer company called Aerovault, and it is a Peter Brock designed trailer. It's an aluminum monocoque.
Trailer.
Trailer.
Uh-huh.
It's real aerodynamic looking, and I can tell you by experience, you can tow it at 90 miles an hour, and you'd never know it's behind you.
So it's all aero.
It is, and so you'll see it there. You'll see my hat says Lipper Garage on it. It's got the Lipper Garage logo on it. And
Oh, how cool. I just Googled up Aerovault. How cool is that?
yeah, and I have the only one that's red.
Of course you do.
Because it's got to match the the 429.
I meant to say that and this was another strange thing of my collection is maybe about 4 years ago, I just decided it was time to be all red. So I've culled through all the other colors of cars that I had, and I've gone to just red.
Just red.
Yeah, you got to have something in life.
Well, it's one of those things when you're going down the road and the lights come on behind you that are blue and white, and you're driving this give me a ticket red car. You just got to expect it.
So are your Jags red?
And so let me
Yes.
just interject here. He would know that because that happens
Unfortunately,
quite.
I do.
Yes.
He knows quite frequently has that happen to him. Yeah. So, what are your plans? I mean, so you collect all of these cars.
Uh-huh.
Do you actually turn any wrenches on them?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your latest project?
Well, right now I'm on airplane mode, so I'm getting
Okay.
ready to. Literally today, I was going to pull the engine out of the crate on a 1955 Bonanza that I'm restoring.
Okay.
Probably start putting the motor in this weekend. I've just finished about a year ago.
Where's the hangar?
I'm
He doesn't want to say.
I'm in 3 different locations.
Okay.
So I've got one at Ellington, one at Sugar Land, and one at Hobby.
Oh.
Okay.
And but I finished last year a 1947 Stagger Wing, big radial engine thing.
Oh, I love the sound of a radio.
Do you actually fly them?
I do, yeah.
What is it that you don't do?
I'm not a good cook.
Doesn't do mashed potatoes.
I can make
don't do
make a
windows.
turkey sandwich, but that's about all I got right there.
Yeah, with
DoorDash is your friend.
Exactly.
that is
exactly.
so
Try
funny.
some of the tacos out here. They're good.
Yeah, truly interesting. So the other cars in your collection, you named 2, and you would name the ones that you're going to have down at Keels and Wheels. Others?
Yeah, well, here's I'll tell you this is really the most interesting car. I'm taking it to the Mustang Club of America show, and this summer is called Yellow Brick Road in Kansas City, and I have a 1978 Mustang II King Cobra unrestored.
Oh, wow.
4,000-mile car, and when I say it's unrestored, I mean all the big Cobra decals, all that gaudy stuff that they stuck all over those cars.
Still looks
all there, and I'm so excited to take the
Where
car.
did you find that car?
There was a restaurant that actually came to Houston for a while called Quaker State Oil and Lube.
Yep, I remember
Remember
them.
that was down on 45 South. Well,
Right around NASA Freeway.
exactly.
Yep.
They had a restaurant in Orlando, and so I'm in Orlando, and they've got a sign that says they're closing.
You're going to sell all the stuff, and that
Exactly.
car was in the restaurant.
It was in the restaurant,
Wow.
and they bought that car. That restaurant was open from 1990 until 2017.
Oh, I didn't realize they were that old.
Yeah, and so car had been sitting inside for 27 years, and you don't know.
Did they have it up inside the roof?
It was on a 4-post lift above the salad bar, and
Above the salad.
and
Saying if it was a Harley, it would have been leaking oil on the salad.
yeah,
Right?
and
What
so
about salad dressing?
And so I didn't know, what we were going to get out of this car, but it runs great. The air conditioning works. I mean,
Surprising.
Seriously?
yeah.
From sitting that long, yeah.
So did you have to do anything once they got it off the 4-post lift?
I've done some stuff to it.
Just light maintenance work.
Well, the clutch, because it had sat for so long, the clutch had fused to the pressure plate. So
Yep.
I had to pull the transmission, separate them. And there was other things like, you'll remember this on these Fords of that vintage, they had this kind of paper hose that went from the air cleaner snorkel.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That paper hose had just disintegrated.
By the way, back
Yeah,
to
That's
Right.
time and age.
That's
back
it.
to the clutch and pressure plate. See, that's my kind of stuff, but I would have gotten that great big long screwdriver in there and unglued it.
Well, yeah, but
Wasn't going to happen.
You have to understand that the Mustang II was like one of the most unloved cars.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
so
It is a collectible to those who desire
Well,
to collect.
They pull all the front ends off of them and put them in other cars.
that's right. But the problem with it is nobody reproduces the parts for that car. So if you
Oh.
get your screwdriver and you start banging around and you damage what you've got, you just did it. I just spent two and a half years looking for the air cleaner top for that car because it had an aluminum air cleaner top.
That was exclusive probably to the King Cobra.
It was, and somebody dropped it before I owned the car, and it was damaged. And so I looked forever, and I finally found one.
Where'd you find it? Online.
Believe it or not, I found it on eBay, and it was straight, but it wasn't cosmetically very pretty. But it's amazing what you can do with aluminum
Yep.
in time.
In repolish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it looks great. So that car's going to go to Kansas City. So that's one of them. And I've got a 69 GT500 convertible 4-speed
Oh, wow.
that's fabulous car. 67 GT500 fastback, factory air 4-speed car.
Factory air.
Very rare.
With a manual.
13 cars got set up manual and air.
Amazing.
I've got, let me think, the two XKEs. The 63 split window coupe I have is a really neat car because it was a one-owner car that had never been in an accident. It had to get restored.
Color is it?
Red.
Of course it's red.
That's what he said. Everything's red.
Ask me any question. It's always red.
Red. Your interior red too?
No, it's black.
Nice.
Black.
And it's a coupe or convertible?
Coupe. Split window coupe.
Okay.
Shifter?
Yep.
Manual?
Four speed and but it's the 300 horse car. It's not. It's
It was
not
the base motor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 250 was they had a 250,
Okay,
300, 340, and 360 if you got the Fuelie. And you know, when I was prioritizing what I wanted, I mean, you know, red's number one.
Yeah, right.
Split window.
Split window had to be, but stick shift was number two.
Yeah.
Now there weren't a lot of Power Glide ones, but
there was some.
Yeah, it seemed like when I was looking, there was 2 or 3 Power Glide cars out there, and I couldn't do that. It was.
You know, it's funny about that 63, and I've told this story. I think everybody's probably heard it 2 or 3 times, but I had an opportunity to meet Zora Duntoff, and at a car show that I was showing my car back in, I don't know, 78, 79, somewhere in there. It was Oklahoma. And we asked him about the 1-year-only 63 split window Corvette. He said that car was never planned to be a split window. And that the car was planned to be a whole one solid piece of glass, but I think it was LOF that made the glass. They did not have the technology to make the solid piece just yet.
Okay.
So that's how they came out with the split, because they could make the 2 sections.
Yeah.
And I had no clue, but he was proud of the car, except he hated that split window.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the treats by me getting this Aerovault trailer and meeting Pete Brock was, you know, Pete Brock and Larry Shinoda were both on the design team of that car. And so one of the treats I got from meeting Pete Brock was he has some prints of his original drawing of the 63 Corvette.
Oh, wow.
And so he gave me one.
Did it have
he
the
signed
split on it?
It's the side view of the car. You don't see
like
the
a
split.
profile, so you wouldn't see it.
But it's so the car, because it was Pete Brock's concept. If you watch Speed Racer, it looks a little bit like the Mach 5 and a 63 Corvette kind of pushed together.
I think of all of those Corvettes throughout the years, that model is probably the prettiest and most sought-after model of all in my book, and I'm a Corvette guy.
Yeah, well, you know, they say it's the blue chip of all Corvettes, and then if you go get like the big tank.
Oh yeah,
Zero-6.
Actually, there was a guy that I was a good friend with that actually had a tank car, and it was red, and he was down off the Gulf Freeway, and we went to Oklahoma City together, and it was a tank car, and it was weird, and it was very rare.
Yeah, well, you know, the one thing that really is neat about that Corvette is if you go get in any of these cars from the 60s, that car really does drive well. I mean, it's a great car.
Well, and the fun thing about the whole C2, you know, it was only 63 to 67.
Right.
And each year was quite unique because the Stinger hood was only 67.
Right.
The SS 390 or the 396 was only 65. Split window was only 63. Each of those years had that penultimate uniqueness available in that body style.
Can you stay with us for a little while?
Yeah, I mean, I want to go out and see my friend. Can I come back in a minute?
Yeah,
Sure.
You can, because we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back.
Okay.
Is your friend the one with the
He's right there.
Yeah. Mike Haney. Mike Haney's going to come and tell us about his car here shortly.
Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you
come
before
on
you
back.
leave.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
All right,
good.
thanks again. Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Show, coming to you today live from the Tailpipes and Tacos event here at Loopy number 2. We're on 5969, the Southwest Freeway, and we invite you to come down. Some really nice cars out here, and we'd like you to, if you can't bring your own car today to the cruise-in, we invite you to come down and see these that are here today. Tacos are here. Hot coffee I can smell right now. And it smells like a Bloody Mary to me.
Sorry about that.
We'll be
That
right.
was dinner last night.
We'll be right back here on the In Wheel Time Car Show after a quick break. Stay with us. Oh my God. I don't know what to play.
Where'd the battery
They're in the yellow
I
box.
have to look and see
Gotta-
what I'm going to play. Here it is. Let me tell you about a locally owned and operated group of dealerships called Bayway. Bayway owner Daryl Wisniewski is born and raised right here, and he knows Houstonians better than anyone. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, Bayway Lincoln, and Bayway Chevrolet are managed by Lincoln Stahl. And when you get to know these guys, you'll want to become part of the Bayway family too. Feel good that you're part of Houstonian-owned Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.com, BaywayChevrolet.com, and BaywayLincoln.com. Remember the name, Bayway. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy, weather permitting. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show, your weekly go-to all things automotive place. Along with Mike Out of This World, Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Zekin, and the fabulous David Ainsley, I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us on this Saturday. Again, coming to you live from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In here at Lupe Tortilla number 2. We're out here between Shepherd and Kirby Drive on the southbound side. We invite you to stop by. I don't know what year it is. Is it a 67?
Don't get me going. Stinger Hood 67 only, so I'll assume it is.
And I assume that it's a 427.
Shows to be a big block.
Yeah. So we'll have to get him over here soon.
We'll get Mars to chase him down.
Yeah.
But for the moment, we have who's joined us, Mike?
Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
The
as
Mike
much as
and
I
the
hate
Mike.
to admit it, you were correct. That is a Mangusta. Does that say it right?
Mangusta.
Yeah. That
Mangusta.
Mr. Mike Haney drove in here this morning. 1969. Surprised me. I thought it was older than that. But anyway, so it shows my ignorance, and so I asked him to come and explain and tell me what he's driving.
Yeah, because they were all like, "Oh, it's a Pantera." I'm like, "No, it's a Mangusta."
Yeah.
It's
Right.
same designer, but
Well, what's the difference between the two?
De Tomaso first, he was from Argentina, but he lived in Italy, in Modena, and he was a race car chassis designer, and he designed the Valle Lunga, built 53 of them, a little four-cylinder car, looked a lot like the Renault A110. Beautiful little car, but it was small, and they only built 53 of them, and he decided he wanted to build a big V8 road car. So he starts working on what was originally called the P70, and it was a blown-up Valle Lunga with a Ford V8 in the back of it. And the car was inherently difficult to build, which led to
it's
the
an
Pantera.
Italian thing, I think.
Right. In that era, there were a lot of Italian cars that were putting American engines in them. Like, we'll design the car and just plug in something tried
like
and
you
true.
can drop an American V8 in the back, right?
Right, yeah. And so they were developing the Mangusta. They had the chassis designed, and everything was going well, and Carroll Shelby was working on them with it. And his plan, as I understand it, was to build a replacement for the AC Cobra.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So they were well into the project, and they had ordered, I think, a dozen or so 289s. And so there are actually a dozen or so 289 Mangustas out there. And
what is yours?
it's 302, which the vast majority of them have 302s in them.
Okay.
Okay.
And so in the middle of development, Ford basically convinces Shelby to jump ship and come over to them to build the GT40. So the story was that De Tomaso and Shelby got into an argument about it, and they renamed the P70 to the Mangusta, which is Italian for mongoose, the only car that can kill the only animal that can kill a cobra. The reality of
What
it,
a great story that is.
well, the reality of it is it can't because it's got a Cobra engine in it, and it weighs a whole lot more than a Cobra. But it was still a good story.
Yeah.
And so they built. The plan was to build 400 of them, and as they were going into production, Bill Mitchell, who was one of the I think he was the head of design at General Motors,
Yes.
fell in love with the car, and he said, "I want one, but I work for Ford, or for General Motors. I can't have a Ford engine." So De Tomaso, being a man who saw a paycheck, said, "Just send me whatever engine you want, and I'll put it in it." So Zora Arkus Duntov himself built a 4-bolt 327, shipped it to Modena, Italy, and they put it in the car. So they built 401 of them. And when the car was being shipped here, it got delayed in customs, and somehow or another, when it shows up at General Motors, it's missing the carburetor. Don't ask me why, but it took General Motors, it took them a month to get a replacement carburetor.
Well, I worked 25 years for General Motors. Doesn't surprise me in the least.
Okay. Well, the car is it's a beautiful car, but there's not a whole lot of pleasure in driving them. They are the seating position is awkward. The weight distribution is insane. I think 3268.
Real rear heavy. Yeah.
Very rear heavy. And so once they got the thing running, well, he was not very plussed about the fact that he had to wait so long for his toy. Then he gets in and he drives it around the parking lot and decides, I don't like it. So his secretary drove it for a year, and then they did a raffle for an option to buy it with employees. And a guy, I don't know him in person, but on the forums I know is Dick Rusin that owns it. And he won.
So they know where that car still is today.
Yes, and he bought it. He worked for General Motors. He bought the car, and he's had it ever since.
Does it show up every now and then to an event?
He lives in Detroit, so he shows it up there quite a bit. And he's very active in the community.
So how did you find out about this model car?
The one that you have.
Yeah, and your desire to buy one.
Well, I spent three seasons racing La Carrera Panamericana in Mexico in a 66 Mercedes 230 SL.
Okay.
And my navigator at the time he just was convinced that he needed a Pantera. So he's shopping around trying to find a Pantera, and he's a very analytical guy, so he's like researching which Pantera because there were a lot of variations.
Right.
And while he's looking at it, looking for one, I find this Mangusta. This is in 2005. And so at the time, they were about the same money. And so I talk him in. I send him all the pictures and everything in the car. He's like, that's a pretty car. So he ends up buying it. And so he had the car from 2005 up until about 4 years ago. And his health was declining. He was a little bit older than me. And so he
Careful.
Yeah. So he was not able to enjoy the car as much as he used to. So
He said, Mike, I've got a deal for you, buddy.
Well, no, I told him, I got a deal for you. I will buy that car from you, and then you don't have to worry about taking
do
care of
you
it.
a favor. I'm going to take this car off of
Exactly.
your
Well,
hands.
plus he knew he was selling it to somebody who had the same passion for the car that he
Correct.
did, which a lot of times at that level of a car, they want to
That
make sure
means
it
a lot.
passes onto the right hands, and they're not giving it to some 17-year-old that's going to
Right.
tear it up. Yeah.
Right, and that's part of the problem with the Mangustas is that they only built 401 of them. They were raced heavily with really difficult cars to drive, to master with that weight distribution. and they had a lot of flex in the rear end due to the way the chassis was designed. So a lot of them, just through the attrition of racing, they estimate there's a little over 200 of them left on the planet.
Still existing?
Yeah.
Wow.
And of those, who knows how many are actually intact and not in museums, so still actually out on the road. Surprisingly,
Much less how many are in the States versus still in Europe, yeah.
correct.
South America or wherever.
Right. Surprisingly, there is one other Mangusta in Houston that I know of, and it's a friend of mine, and so he and his brother have been restoring it for quite some time. But his brother works out of the country, so doesn't have that much time to work on it.
It's a full-time thing, yeah.
Right.
Well,
Was
plus
this
I'm sure it's a little difficult to find specific parts for it, and some stuff you probably just have to make.
Exactly.
Is this your only car?
No. No, it's not my daily driver.
No. As far as collection.
No, I still have the 230 SL that I raced in Mexico. It's been restored back to civilian form, but the 230 SL, I'll have that till the day I drop. It's it's a beautiful car, and it is such a pleasure to drive.
What kind of motors it got in it?
The 230 SL is a straight 6, 2.3 liter.
Yeah.
That was and correct me if I'm wrong, considered the Pagoda
Yes, exactly.
body style.
All the old Mercedes had nicknames. You
Right.
had the Adenauers, the Fintails, the
Pontoons.
Pontons,
Right.
or Pontons.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm an American guy. It's a pontoon.
Well, Ponton, I think, was the German version of pontoon. But so they all had nicknames, and Pagodas, they got their nickname because the hardtop on them, to get more, I guess, for the greenhouse to get more view, the tips of the hardtop tip up, and so it kind of reminded people of the Japanese pagodas.
Yeah.
And that, absolutely love that car. I spent 2 years looking for a European 230 because as it evolved, they had the 230 SL, the 250 SL, and the 280 SL, and the 230 followed the 300 SL Gullwing.
Right.
There was the 190 SL, which was the only carbureted SL.
And the 190 probably looked a little bit more like the
300. It looked a lot. They had the same grill. They had a lot of the same parts.
Shape to the fenders and stuff.
Right. And I actually looked at and even drove 3 different 190 SLs, and it was such a stunning little car. But it had like 85 horsepower or something like that. And when you're in there, you're rubbing shoulders with your passenger. It was just too small,
So
and
you
it
gotta be
couldn't keep up
friends.
with traffic. Then I started looking at the 230 SL, and I was looking at the Pagodas in general, and everybody, was trying to steer me toward the 280. But the thing I didn't like on the 280s was as the Pagodas evolved, they started putting fancy stuff in them, like air conditioners and radios. And it's like, no, I wanted the one.
All that extra
The
stuff.
purity of the car.
Right. And mine is the European model, so I don't have the bumper overriders. I don't have, the side lights, all the things that they put as the car evolved and Americanized them. So
the Americans messed it up.
well, for DOT, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly one that catches your eye no
very
matter
much so,
where
very
you
much
go.
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car, but it's an angry car that its sole purpose in life is to kill you.
So with the with the weight bias, does it tend to understeer until you get in it, and then it oversteers like a freight train?
Well, some of the reviews on it that people have or comments people have made is it's the only car ever built that can understeer and oversteer in the same turn.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
that's what I'd heard about that car because it was so heavy in the back.
Right.
And I guess adding weight to the front is not anything that is something that would be viable to try to balance the weight, or it makes no difference.
No, there's 2 of them out there that are still racing. One of them, only one that's really actively racing. If you want to see a stunning video, just go to YouTube and look for Mangusta Hill Climb. And there's a blue one that is heavily modified, and he's worked out all the kinks. And God, it's just incredible video.
Do you know the guy?
No,
No.
I wish
It's
I did.
incredible video in what way?
Just the performance and the fact to see someone driving a car that valuable and that rare, driving the wheels off of it.
How much do you think your car is worth?
There are 2 of them on the market
Stop.
right now.
Stop.
There's 2 of them on the market at the moment that I'm aware of. One is, and there's two variations of the Mangusta. That the 70s, 71s, the headlights were too low. So they hacked up the front fenders and put a pop-up headlight assembly in there.
Okay.
To get them up high enough.
To get the headlights
For
higher.
DOT.
Exactly. I'm not sure. I think there's, maybe 40 or so of those, plus or minus a few. And those are the only ones that you see showing up on the market. So it's pretty rare for the 4 headlight, which most of them are. You don't see them on the market. There's one right now that's up, I think, Schmidt and Company or somebody like that at, let's see, $349, and
Okay.
there's a 2 headlight that should be worth less, but it's on the market at $399.
That's so funny because you would not think that that headlights would make a difference.
Well, if you see them, there was one that was on Bring a Trailer website, like maybe 2 years ago. It was the only one they'd ever had turn up for auction on their website. And one of the comments on there was hilarious because they showed pictures of it with the headlights up and with them down. And when they're down, they're exposed, so you still see them.
Yeah.
And the comment was that when the headlights are down, the car looks like it dropped something on the floor it's trying to find. And when they're up, it looks like it's a little bit too excited to be here.
How funny.
Kind of like
How funny.
Exactly.
Like, the wide eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, like a bug-eyed Sprite kind of. They're just there.
So the other unique thing about it is, and I don't know the phrase they use for it, but the way the rear hatch opens to expose the engine, as opposed to most everything that would either lift up from the rear or lift up from the front, like a clamshell. This one lifts up from the side, almost like a barbecue grill. I know
Right.
that's a horrible way to explain your car.
No, and it's generally referred to as either clamshell or gull wing.
Okay.
And, a lot of people think, oh, it's got to be so difficult to work on that engine. But the thing is, that spine down the center of it, there's 2 bolts on the front, 2 bolts on the back. You take it off and lift the whole assembly off, and it's like the engine's in the back of a truck. You can just lift it right out, which unfortunately, since they were heavily raced, that was one of the design considerations, was get the engine out in and out quickly.
Have you ever had the engine out?
I have not. Mine is actually highly original, and I
Nice.
don't know that the original that the engine has ever been out. And I've tracked down. Fortunately, one of the owners in the registry had a unique last name, and I was able to track him down. Lives in California. He owned 3 Mangustas. Loved them. And
Oh, wow.
He owned that one from I think 79 to 99.
So he was kind of happy to find out where it was when you got a hold of him.
He was, and real nice guy, and we keep in touch by text. And he started digging around because he had owned 3 Mangustas. He tells me, so well, I've got a lot of spare parts. I'm like, for a Mangusta? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, send me a list and prices. So I bought everything he had.
Don't
Did you
even send me
really?
the prices,
Yeah.
just send me the list because parts have got to be impossible. For
Well,
that.
one of my favorite things I bought from him is a slot car racing set.
Oh, yes.
That has a Mangusta and a Lamborghini Miura cars.
How funny.
Yeah.
Well, that had to have been from the 60s.
It was. It
Yep.
still had the original box, everything.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd like to have
the
that.
collectability of off the wall stuff when it matches your toy car
Right.
is invaluable.
And the Mangustas are the same. My car is the same color as the one in the slot car set. So
so you think you assume there's 200 plus left. How many are actually do you think are in the States?
it's really hard to say. I would imagine, at least 75 to 100.
Is it
maybe.
really? Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
good. I mean, California, of course, is you get so many collectors there that are buying the rarer cars, and there's a lot of them that are in museums or collections that you don't ever see.
That was going to be my next question. Is with museums, because that's definitely going to be in somebody's design museum. Might not even be an automotive museum. Just the design of the car is going to the artsy effect of the car is going to draw it to a museum as well.
What do you think about some of these auction prices that cars are going for today? I mean, even at Mecum.
They are crazy. One of the things that got me is like the old Datsun 240Zs.
Yes.
Oh my God! There was one that sold for well over 100 on auction. I mean, it was in extraordinary condition, been fully restored, but still, you could have bought those for pocket change,
5 years ago.
If they hadn't rusted away by then.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've all been kind of jaw dropped, if you will, with some of the auction prices that some cars are going for that you'd never even think of. Then on the other hand, there are some that you're thinking, well, that's got to be at least $100,000, $200,000 car, and all of a sudden no reserve, and it goes for $80,000.
Yeah, I actually just last night I'm reviewing some auctions on some sites that I go to, and there was I think a 78 Toyota Corolla. I mean, just a generic car you could have bought for a few $100s.
Right.
Sold for something like $67,000.
Oh my gosh!
The guy that bought it, does he not know anything about cars?
Well, there's something about that car, and he's probably a fanatic.
Maybe he was
about
born
them.
in the back of one
I
or
don't
something.
know. It's something.
Well, my buddy Mike Hellman, that is the Nova over there, he's, one of the things he loves to do is find these cars that, like his Nova, that people had, that he'll find them that had the wrong wheels on them. They got a Pioneer stereo in there. And,
right.
And the thing is that a lot of these cars that you get people that they want the car that they were in love with in high school, but they were in high school, they couldn't afford it. Well, now they've got enough money to afford some of these cars. So they want that exact car. They don't want it with Krager wheels on it and a Pioneer stereo.
They want to relive their high school
memories. Exactly.
Oh,
well, that was Don.
Don
had a Corvair.
Oh my God!
And he got a Corvair a few years ago and did a lot of restoration work on it, and then sold it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because I found out really quick, it's not my high school car.
Right.
It had 2 1-barrels on it, and it was like
the 110.
Yeah, and it just not for me.
Yeah, well, the Corvair Corsas with the 4-cylinder, I mean, that was 140 horsepower. And then, the ones that draw crazy money now are the Yinko Stinger Corvairs.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Especially if you get like a Stage 3 or something where, you get a whopping 225 horsepower.
Well, in a car that doesn't,
in that light
I'm
of
just
car,
going to say,
in that day it was, yeah.
And it would handle very well.
Yeah.
The
maybe a
Gen
little better
2.
than your Mangusta.
General 2, yeah.
Yeah, the Gen 2 Corvair. There's no doubt about that. But so how did you find out about today's Tailpipes and Tacos, if I don't mind me asking?
Well, actually, the buddy I mentioned, Mike Hellman, that has the Nova over there, he had called me up and,
come on, we're going to go.
Well, we've been friends for 30-some-odd years, so, I call him and, get him in touch with some of the circles and the shows that I go to. He returns the favor, and so he called me up and said, hey, you going to the show tomorrow? I'm like, which one? And he says, oh, well, this one. I'm like,
so is this close to the house for you?
For me it is, yeah.
And that's part of what Lupe's is trying to do is create small events, but that are close to people's homes with as many facilities as they've got. So, we typically were out at the Katy location, so this is our first time to bring the show here. And a small group of cars come out, but oh my gosh, the quality of the cars is awesome.
Right.
Yeah, and the location was a huge deal for me because the Mangusta, there's so many parts on it that are just irreplaceable that, I don't really like to take it out on the freeway
outside
too
of a
much.
trailer some places.
Yeah.
So are you a Houston native?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
Was it more or less?
Yeah, today I'd have to do the math and say more.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you go to high school here?
Went to high school in Clear Lake. Or Clear Creek, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right.
Back when you could actually street race, I had a 55 Chevy that I drove to. That was my daily driver to high school. Drove it back and forth to driver's ed, which raised a few eyebrows. Like, if you're going to driver's ed, you probably don't have a license.
Yeah, right. But did you happen to? Were you down there when Houston International Dragway was down there on the Gulf Freeway?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were maybe a little bit more not at the raceway, but racing somewhere.
Yeah. Usually things you don't tell your mom about.
We're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Or your wife.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a lot of things on this show that we really, it's kind of like taboo. We don't discuss that. But we get it. We're there with you. Well, how long have you known the Nova guy?
Oh, we actually went to college together.
Okay.
Where'd you go to college?
A&M.
Texas A&M.
Yep.
Okay. Gig'em Ags. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you and talk to you today. thank you so much for stopping by.
Stunningly beautiful car.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And thank for the education, too.
Very much so. Very
Thank
much.
you.
I learned a lot talking to you about it.
All right. We're going to move on. We got some other things we got to take care of, but great talking to you. Thanks again, Mike Haney.
Thank you.
All right. As a matter of fact, I need to play a little catch-up here, and not with the sauce. I need to play catch-up because I believe that Mr. Mars that has the first up with the.
Yeah, but Mr. Mars is out talking to
Has he? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do mine because it really doesn't. Do you want to do your car review now, or do you want to wait?
I'm good.
Okay. What does that mean? I'm good. You're good to do it, or what?
Hey, he just thinks he's good.
Okay. Well, why don't you sit down and do your car review? That would be really good because we need to get that in this hour, if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
All right.
Because what we're talking about is a 2021
No,
Ford.
you're talking about it.
I'm talking about a 2021 Ford F350 King Ranch 4x4 crew cab with the trimmer package on it. Now, this is a big truck. Trimmer is their new off-road suspension.
That's a TREMOR, I believe it is, not a TRIMMER like you would have to cut the grass with. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about wrong page. So this is a full-size pickup truck, and of course it's a Ford, so it comes in lots of different trim packages. But we've got the King Ranch, and you can only get the King Ranch this year in the crew cab. So if you want that, and the only thing you're going to get that's got more stuff on it's going to be the Platinum or the Limited model.
And they make those.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's for 2021. It's got a nice sharp cut grille on it. They've done some updates there. Got lots of right angles on the vehicle, and if you're into the straight lines and not all the curved lines in some of the smaller vehicles that you're going to see, this is the vehicle for you because the trimmer adds in a lifted suspension, 35-inch tires. It's got a rock crawl mode on it. That's where you get all your skid plates for all the off-road stuff. And this is a big truck. This is a man's man truck. If you've got a big job to do, this is the kind of truck that you're looking for. You're going to haul 6 or 7 horses, 5 or 6 cars. It'll do it. It's going to come complete with LED lighting all the way around, including inside the bed. It's got the running board steps. Now, because it's lifted, they didn't have the lowering running boards on it, so you had to step up into this thing.
You had to climb up
into this thing. Got remote tailgate release, and I'll be happy when they get one where it'll close the tailgate for you. Got a nice tie-down system inside the bed for your tying down all your cargo. It's got the setup so that you can add your fifth wheel hitch setup. We had the Pro Trailer backup system. That's where you can actually, instead of trying to drive it by the steering wheel and back up, you actually turn a knob on the dash the direction you want to go. You don't have to worry about going the other direction. The direction you want your trailer to go, and the vehicle will turn the steering wheel for you.
So the vehicle's smarter than the driver.
Absolutely.
Point and shoot.
That's right. Then we also had some black 18-inch optional wheels with the big LT8 285/75R 18 tires on it. So this is a really good off-road setup here. Now you go into the interior. Now this is where you're going to find the Kingsville antique leather seats, antique effect leather seating on it. It's on top of the console, across the dash. It's got all the running W on it for the King Ranch. Got a lot of King Ranch styling on this vehicle, and that's where it comes from. And it had the heated and cooled, heated and ventilated front seats. It had the pedal adjustments on it. They had the steering wheel column that would adjust along with the wheel up and down. You could adjust in and out on the steering wheel. 60/40 rear fold-up seats on it. We had an 8-inch touchscreen in the dash. Now, this is where you can find this around view, and I liked it really well because you could either do a 180 or you could do a 360-degree view around this vehicle. Had a rear view camera on the back of the truck, on the tailgate, normal, but they also have one on the back of the cab that you can switch between, and you can see your cargo and see what's in the bed.
Inside the bed.
Oh, yeah. Lots of cool stuff on this. And had the new Sync 3 system in it. Had the B&O audio, which is the Bang & Olufsen, I believe is how you say it. 10 speakers and a sub.
Olufsen. Bang & Olufsen.
Yeah, B&O is what I said.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
But you crank this thing up, and you can go in the house and listen to it.
Never heard Margaritaville so loud.
On the Bang & Olufsen.
And the neighbors neither did either. So, but up under the hood, now this is where this thing is really, it really shines here because this is the 6.7-liter Power Stroke diesel V8.
It's a beast.
450 horsepower at 2,800 RPM.
It's a beast.
I mean, you wind this thing up, 1,050 pound-feet of torque, which is 125 more than last year at 1,800 RPM.
It'll tow everything.
It'll tow your house. 10-speed automatic. That's backing this thing with a tow rating of 21,200 pounds on this vehicle itself.
Not surprised.
And it's power. I mean, you pull this thing down. I don't care if you're in low gear and you're sitting at a red light and you decide you want to go fast, or if you're out there on the highway. I come down Interstate 10 all the time. I see all these hotshot trucks out there, and they're all cruising around with their loads doing 80 and 90 miles an hour. And I'm going, well, yeah. This truck is why they're doing that.
Yeah. It's got all kinds of power.
Yeah, that's it. It's just pure power, and it will push you back in the seat. If you step off into it, it's not a hammer like a big block V8 regular fuel, but it'll just, you ease right back into the back seat. It's just pure power. Pull a train with this thing. It's got a very firm ride because of the suspension on it, the off-road suspension,
package, right?
and it's an F350 to begin with. But the tires kind of take some of that off of it. Now, if you're looking for something to compare this to, obviously you're going to step over to Chevrolet. You're going to look at their 3500 crew cab. And, it starts at around 40,000. It'll bump up 77, 8, 165 real quick, plus some options. Ram Longhorn is going to get up here in there in that same range, 78,875 plus
So the
options.
loaded ones all generally price relatively close to each other.
They are, because if you go look at this one, the F350 Power Stroke, you can get one as cheap as $49,840. But the MSRP is tested for the King Ranch F350 is $82,685 walk out the door. 10,000 of that is the Power Stroke engine.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're looking for a job, you're looking for a man's job, this will do it.
All right, thank you, sir. Time now for a quick break here on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Right after this, we'll be back with hour number 2. Houstonian-owned Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the most sought-after models in the Houston area today. When you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, you now have a place to go. General Manager Lincoln Stahl guarantees Bayway will beat any competitor's written price on the new vehicle you choose or pay you $1,000. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is easy to get to on Highway 225 near Beltway 8 in Pasadena. Whether it's online or in person, you're welcome like one of the family. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.com. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy, weather permitting. Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, this is the In Wheel Time Car Show. Today, coming to you live from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at Lupe number 2 on US 59 I-69 Southwest Freeway between Shepherd and Kirby. We have cars and car owners that love talking about their rides, and we think you'll enjoy hearing from them. We have a review of our new car of the week, the Dodge Durango SRT with the 707 horsepower engine. It's an SUV. Did I mention that? We look at the growing cruise-in calendar. We'll have This Week in Auto History and the stories making automotive news headlines. That and more just ahead on today's In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, April 17th, 2021. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey, we need more Jeff Zekin, and the fabulous, and making a rare appearance on today's show, is the chief engineer of this program, Mr. David Ainsley. Glad that you could join us today. It's a little bit on the chilly side.
61 degrees.
Yeah, we had a little cold front come through finally after an entire week of rain. And it's a little cloudy. We got a small group of cars here, but we are glad that they are all here because we're going to talk to him now. Mr. Mars, who's our first guest here?
We talk about them obviously whenever they pull into the lot here, but the one that really got everybody's attention was this blue '67 Corvette sitting out here. And Mr. Chet Babin is a gentleman that's fortunate enough to be driving that, and he is going to share everything he knows about that car.
Oh, Chet, I'm a fellow Corvette owner, but I don't have a '67, and I assume that's a big block with side pipes on it.
Yeah, there's no other Corvette.
There's no other Corvette. It's the only Corvette. Got to have a Stinger hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Stinger hood. I love the car, and I love the color, and I might love you.
So
Not going to get this Corvette.
So what color is that?
So that's called Lendale blue.
Glendale blue.
It's kind of a silver blue. I think that's a 1 year only color.
And that is so classic for 1967. Maybe not all of the cars, the C2 cars were that color, but those that were, they were very popular back in the day.
Yeah.
It's stunningly beautiful car. Is it all original? Give me the background on the car.
So it's mostly original. All the major components are original. So it's a no-hit body, all original fiberglass panels, original tinted glass. The rear end option, transmission, tinted glass was an option.
Transmission is manual?
Yes.
Manual 4-speed.
No other transmission.
That's it. And original matching number engine?
Well, the matching numbers, but not original. The block's not original, but it is a correct date coded block.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
But the heads, intake, carburetors, everything else is original.
Did you soup it up, or?
A little bit. I bought it 13 years ago, and then I've since then had the engine rebuilt. It is mostly to factory specs. The cam's just a little bit stiffer.
A little
Yeah.
hard.
So
Is that a triple carb?
Yes.
It is a triple carb.
No other induction system.
Of course not. I got it.
That is the perfect Corvette.
Right. It's got the triangular.
That's what he said.
Triangular air cleaner on it, and I believe that engine's rated at 435 horsepower from the factory.
Yeah. So that was the solid lifter. The highest hydraulic lifter was 400, and that's what this engine was.
Okay.
Also a different set of heads. This has round port heads, and the 435 was square port. 435 was really built for higher RPM. It's more of a racing application, and the round port is more your mid-range, which is street.
Okay.
But on this one, it's a little bit stiffer cam, and dynoed, it was 445 horsepower and 4.
So you did okay for yourself, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you need a little torque and 3,300 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. You need that. If you're like me, you don't need
just
that.
Just in case I have to get around somebody.
Right.
Yeah, you had to make a high-speed
Generally,
maneuver.
I'm not behind anybody.
Generally speaking, I would imagine so.
So it was a factory side pipe car as well.
It was not, but
But you found all of it.
There was a guy that returned from the Army. He wasn't in Vietnam. Returned from the Army in '72 and bought it. And he had it for over 30 years. And in the 70s, he added the side pipes. And he had a friend of his that his father worked for a GM dealer, and he bought the side pipes through his friend.
So it's a GM side pipe setup.
It is.
Yep.
But since he added that in the 70s, I decided to leave
it's
it.
a great look on the C2s.
Yeah.
I've always loved the side pipes, and not that that many of them had them. I don't think there was a very large number of them that had it, but it makes the car look correct to me on the C2s.
That's interesting. They're straight pipes, so there's no muffler.
No
in
real
it.
muffler in there.
On the pipe on the side of the car is just kind of.
I just go crimps along it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that quiets it a little bit.
Did with the new heads that you put on there? Did that change that setup at all? I mean,
No.
it matched right up with the exhaust system.
No, it's the original
Original
heads.
heads.
Yeah.
Original.
Oh,
heads.
the original heads. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier,
That's
and I
right.
was a bit confused.
Yeah.
As
So-
I am more and more these days.
No worries.
Yeah. And how about the interior?
So it's a white interior, so it has the white Stinger hood.
Really?
And the interior's original. I think it's just turned over 66,000 miles, so it's just now out of warranty.
Yeah.
So can't take
okay.
it back to the dealership anymore.
Well, I don't know that you'd want to, because all the technicians would want to take it for a spin.
I don't believe
yeah.
I've ever seen a white interior on a C2 like that.
Yeah,
that's-
It's a different combination.
Mostly black.
I was going to say
Yeah,
it's,
it is.
it's a different color pairing on that.
Yeah,
With the white interior.
I like it.
yeah.
Yeah. And air conditioning?
No AC.
And you kept it that way.
Well, when I was looking for one, air conditioning is just more stuff to maintain, and
Right.
so I decided against the AC. Yeah.
And if you're going to have the only Corvette, then you might as well,
Well,
have
it's got
the only
it's got
Corvette.
vent windows, so you just crank the
That's
vent windows
right.
all the way open,
Yeah.
and you get AC.
Shift
Yeah,
another
it's-
gear.
So is it an M20 or an M22?
So
Transmission.
it's M21,
I'm
which
sorry,
is
21.
a close race show,
Right.
so you can keep those RPM up
Right.
when you're passing.
When you're passing.
For a high-speed passing maneuver.
So I assume that you don't really get into it that often.
I've had to do what Zora Duntov called heavy-duty testing.
Heavy duty testing.
I do a lot of research.
Some R&D, yeah,
See,
heavy-duty
Mr.
testing.
Mars talks about his on-ramp acceleration tests
Yeah,
that he
just
does with new
so
cars.
safety.
I'm sure that you're about that.
Yeah, safety issues.
Safety,
Like, get
I-
ahead of the traffic.
I have a feeling that's the kind of car that you'd set the $50 on the $50 bill on the dash and bet your friend sitting next to you he can't grab it.
Pretty much.
You try and reach out and get that, and I'll hold you
Yeah,
back.
if you get it all, you can have it. Yeah.
So the wheels are not stock.
That's correct. So those are vintage torque thrust Ds,
Okay.
which the 5-spoke that you see that was so popular back then, I think Krager SS were
Yeah,
really
the chrome
popular,
ones,
but
yes.
everybody copied them. But American Racing came out with those first, with that 5-spoke
Yep.
design. And the D means for disc brake, so that spoke is notched to clear the brake
Caliper.
caliper.
So it's 4-wheel discs.
So 4-wheel disc. And
Wow.
4-wheel independent suspension. That all came out in '65.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a
Standard.
lot of people don't realize that the 63 split windows didn't have the IRS in the back. It wasn't until 65 they went
So it did, but it had drum brakes.
drum brakes. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that was the difference. Was the
Yeah.
drum brakes?
So at '65 they had 4-wheel disc was standard equipment.
I don't have any clue what they're doing out there, but we don't really care.
No.
Yeah.
Is it sprinkling a little bit?
Uh-oh.
That's good. Thank you, David, for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Yeah, okay. Well, there's another one down there. Why don't y'all
Do it again.
Yeah, that's looking great. Thank you. That's great.
And that's our sound guy that's doing that.
Yeah. That's our chief engineer, David Ainsley. Thank you so much. Yeah, he brought the speaker
shoulda got him
out of the
taco.
rain. Yeah,
So you put some miles on this.
Yes, I drive it a fair amount. Used to drive it to work.
I
Did
bet
you?
That attracted a lot of attention.
and how
Yeah.
far away was work?
Not too far away. I worked at Greenway Plaza here.
Okay, and you live in the area?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so you
Which
can
is
drive
kind
it
of what
and
Lupe's is trying to do by opening up more of their restaurants so that the locals can bring their cars out that short distance that
Yeah.
they want to. Typically, we were always out at Katy, so they're going to probably move us around some of the different Lupes through town.
Excellent.
So-
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of
You
vintage
wanted to
cars.
meet us for a long time.
Yeah, you're a good-looking
Been
group
looking
of
for
guys.
us.
Are we? Yeah, we are. We even got dressed up for today's public appearance.
Don wants you to adopt him so
Well-
he can inherit your car.
Now, actually, I have to say this, that I actually owned a 65 for a very short period of time. You didn't know this. And those cars, the C2s, are very unique unto themselves. There's the C1s. I had a 58. Okay.
Nice.
Then I had a 65. Huge difference between the two.
Oh yeah.
And then you move through the years, and every generation of Corvette is very different.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you don't think of things like that, but they made significant changes between the C1 and the C2. C3 probably not as much of a change between the C1 and the C2, but there's a significant change between them.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. And then 67 being the last year for the C2 as well, and then the Stinger hood. Of course, that's the iconic look of the C2 Corvettes is with the Stinger. You know, a lot of the 65, 66 big block hood. A lot of people don't necessarily recognize what it is, but you see a Stinger hood on a Corvette, you immediately know it's
Back in the day, and I want to say this was about 1965 or so, McRobert Chevrolet. It used to be down on South Post Oak. A.J. Foyt eventually bought that dealership. But that's where I first saw and fell in love with a Corvette. I was 14, and it was that color. And it sat on the showroom floor with the doors locked. But, boy, I was in there with my eyes and nose up to that glass looking at everything about that car.
Yeah. And the poor salespeople are going, quit wiping your greasy forehead on the car.
I'm sure that they were, but Dad was buying a car in there, so it was okay.
They were nice to you.
Yeah, they were nice
At least
to me.
till he signed the
But
papers.
it was that particular color, of their variation thereof, and that body style that was like, I want it. And that's where I started my passion for Corvettes.
Nice.
And so so congratulations to
Well,
you
thank
for
you.
stealing my damn car. But I appreciate it. You know, and when you pulled in, I was going to Conrad.
Oh, yeah.
Look.
He was like a 3-year-old kid going, hey, there's my candy, my eye candy.
That's exactly right. And you got to be proud because I'm sure that there are a lot of guys like me that are going, man, tell me all about your car.
Yeah.
Now, I assume that's – are you a member of a Corvette club?
Well, I used to be.
Well, we all used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be started off with the San Jacinto Corvette Club,
Oh, okay.
I think, which was the original one here in Houston. This was way back in the 1970s. And then we kind of moved from that and opened up our own club called Corvettes of Houston, which ultimately became a car dealership. Had no relationship to the car club. But at any rate, that was where I met Bill and Sharon Seitz and all of that. Do you know the Seitz? Bill and Sharon Seitz? No, it doesn't ring a bell.
They own the dealership, right?
They don't own the dealership. Bill is an artist and does a lot of artwork.
Real active in the Corvette Club at one point.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's how my progression through the years of Corvettes. I currently have an 01.
Okay.
Sorry. I know it means
no worries.
No, it doesn't. It's
I didn't know
I'm not worthy.
I didn't know they built them in 01.
Yeah.
Because that's the
It's
only
the only Corvette to have is a big block 67.
And see, this is why us Corvette guys like each other, because we can do things like that and not get offended or be offensive or anything. It's all good.
That was slick.
It was very good. I like the way you kind of zipped that right in there. It was very good. But
Off with his head.
so is this your only car that you have that
In the collection?
Yeah.
Oh.
You keep it garage.
Collection of one. Yeah.
Collection of
okay.
one. Well, that's
Still a
me.
cool,
Gotta
cool
start
car to
somewhere.
have, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Start
let's-
somewhere.
Let's start with a 67 big block. Right?
Yeah. And you don't really have a desire to have any other cars, do you?
No, that's the
No,
only one.
no,
This
it's
is the only car.
Yeah.
the dream machine, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
There are other cars.
I totally get it. Well, my L1 isn't anywhere close to that, but it is my one and only. So we're going to keep it for a while.
You don't have any airplanes or anything? Or?
No, this one flies pretty well.
It does.
Low altitude.
It
Close
definitely
enough.
does. Well, listen, it's a pleasure to meet you,
Very much so.
and we hope to see you again.
I hope to see you all again.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Okay. Well,
inviting me.
thank you
Yeah,
very
thanks
much
for
for
coming
stopping
over.
by
We
and telling us
appreciate
about your car.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. All right. I know that we just did a review last hour, and it's time for another because I gotta play catch up here. And when we do these remotes like this,
We kind of lose track of time because we're so interested in
Totally.
the car.
can't help it.
Tell me about your toy.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get into that and, go off into different directions and the other collectible cars that these guys have. All right, here on the In Wheel Time Show, it's time for this hour's car review, the 2021 Dodge SRT Durango. Now, the Durango comes in many trim levels. It starts with the SXT, the GT, the RT, the Citadel, the SRT 392, and the SRT Hellcat. I had the SRT Hellcat all-wheel drive. This is a standard SUV all-wheel drive, seats up to 7 passengers. Exterior changes from last year, minor cosmetic differences, so not a whole lot has changed on the Durango that I had. Exterior features, sharp, smooth, sleek body design, similar to the Grand Cherokee, actually, if you look at it from the side. Front grille, good looking and very symmetrical. There's nothing funky about it. Distinctive rear lighting, kind of like the Dodge Challenger in a way. Vented hood and scoop let you know this is a serious hot rod. Looks like the SRT part. What could use improvement? I think advertising the merits of this midsize SUV, because you don't see it advertised too much. But guys that know about it, they know about it, and they're into it, yeah. Interior highlights, sharp, actually the dash and excellent materials. It really comes together very nicely in this. Contrasting colors available depending on trim level on the interior. Performance pages like the Challenger and the Charger, and it is standard four-wheel drive. So imagine spinning up all four wheels at the same time with the 707 horsepower. Woo-hoo. Cargo and trunk room, competitive with others in its class. What I liked about it, it's race-style design. Got that bulging hood.
It's got a real competitive look to it.
It does. What could use improvement? Would like to see an updated instrument cluster. It's getting a little long in the tooth, but it works very well.
Nice. I mean,
yeah, it is. 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8, 710 horsepower, 645 pound-feet of torque, all delivered through an 8-speed automatic transmission to four wheels. 6,200 pounds is what it'll tow. That's 3 tons, my friend, any way you look at it.
Yep.
Miles per gallon? Well, 12 miles per gallon in city. Highway is 17, and for a combined of 13. And that sound that you hear is the Corvette pulling away.
The only car.
Yeah, the only car. I got 12.7 miles per gallon. Had to put some gas in it a couple of times.
Uh-oh.
What I liked about it? Well, the power. What could use improvement? How could you improve on 707 horsepower?
Nice
the
vehicle.
gas mileage?
It's
okay.
nice.
You buy a car like that, you don't worry about gas mileage. Ride and handling, all-wheel drive, standard on both of the SRTs. This one, the Hellcat, and the 392. What I liked about it, the taut suspension, but not a buckboard.
Oh.
I mean, you know, these race cars with the big horsepower, they can get, a little stiff in the suspension. So what I liked as far as improvement was nothing. Taut. That's what I said. Taut.
I like the word. 700 horsepower and all-wheel drive. You can get the power to the ground.
Yeah, all-wheel drive. Can you imagine all 4 of those tires spinning up? I can. I didn't do it, though.
Did you?
No, I did not.
I was going to say.
No, I did not.
Explain
I
that.
can imagine it. Base trim price is $80,995. Prices tested $90,315. The base price, if you just like the Durango, you can start on that for $31,765. Competitors? The Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk for $87,400. It's got the same 707 horsepower engine in it. The Audi SQ8, $89,000, and the BMW X5M for $105,000. Those are the competitors, and that is the review of the Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat all-wheel drive. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being you, and thank you for joining us here on the In Wheel Time Car Show.
At Lupe Tortillas.
Is Mike on?
On the Southwest Freeway.
Yeah. Yeah, right here. We're at this Lupe Tortilla this weekend.
I stepped on him.
You did. And the one thing that you haven't done yet
is finish your sentence.
I was waiting for that. That was slicker than a fireman's pole, I tell you.
So we missed the events calendar last hour, so why don't we do that right now, shall we? Do you mind?
No, not at all. Remember, tonight is the 7th annual Demolition Derby at the Waller County Fairgrounds.
Woohoo!
$10 advance tickets, too late. $15 at the gate. Nifty 50s. I don't know if Randy's going to put it on tonight with what the weather looks like. The Kima Car Show is tonight, weather permitting. Tomorrow, the Lowlife first annual car show and drift show. At
Lowlife.
Lowlife. Mm-hmm. Speed Sport Racing Park. Don, you remember, aren't you?
Of the lowlifes.
Of the lowlifes at
Yeah,
the
he didn't
Speed Sports
qualify.
Racing Park in North Houston, and then tomorrow night is All-American Muscle Car at Kroger's at 99 in Spring, and then also Sunday night is Freddie Steakburger at 1960 in Eldridge. So that's kind of the events that are going on this week, and then you want me to do calendar, which is next.
Yes, I do.
Couple of weeks.
I was going to invite you to do that.
So Sunday the 25th is going to be the 27th annual Tomball Lions Club Car Show at Tomball High School. I think they've moved it to the football stadium. May 1st, lots of stuff going on May 1st. Keels and Wheels, the 25th anniversary.
That's the only thing going on
That's
May
the
1st.
only thing going on May 1st is Keels and Wheels. Feature cars are first three-generation Corvettes, the Ferrari versus Ford movie cars, and then, of course, they always bring all the wooden boats as well. But also on May 1st, if you're not going to make it all the way down to Kemah,
There is nothing else going on.
That's right. Just like there's no other car than that 67 Corvette.
is the second annual Springtown Center Car Show on Kirkendall Road in Spring, and that runs from 9 to 3. And then the crawfishing cars at Second Baptist Church in Katy. Everybody's got to have their own phraseology.
Crawfishing cars.
Crawfishing cars.
I don't know as if I'd want to go back into the car after I've eaten a whole lot of crawfish.
Oh, yeah. I have.
Because I think
I
I've had that smell on my hands before.
I have stunk up a few company cars by hauling, and this is years ago, hauling like 8 bags of crawfish back from Louisiana and just kind of threw them in the trunk and threw like 10 bags of ice on top of them. Oh, I had to get out of the car the week after because it stunk so bad.
Oh, my God. Dude, I can't even imagine doing something like that.
They were company cars.
There were company cars. Well, what you need to do next time is you need to go and get a rent car and then do all the bags of crawfish in the trunk and then turn it back in.
Don't get me going on rent
I don't
cars.
do crawfish. Never had
If
it.
you can find a rent car.
Oh, it's hard to find them right now because
Do you know how much they're getting for rent cars?
Yeah, well, Angie was supposed to go to Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and it was $189 a day.
A day. A
Insane.
day.
And well, here in Houston, it's real. I've got a friend of mine had a wreck the other day, and Chase hasn't been able to find a rent car in Houston
Correct.
at any price because when pandemic hit last year, all the rental agencies dumped their inventory.
Well, not only that, but, Hertz almost went belly up.
Right.
And so they sold off everything that they had. Now they're begging. All of the rent car agencies are begging for cars.
And there's no inventory to give them cars.
Nothing. There's nothing.
Not any inventory anywhere. The dealer I go by coming into town, I've watched the way he parks his vehicles to make it look like he's got some. I counted this morning. He's got 7 Jeeps on his lot, 4 Wranglers and 2 Gladiators. That's all the new Jeeps he's got.
But
And
if you are looking for a new car, you probably want to go to Bayway
That's it.
because they've got great inventory. You just got to show up and pick the one you want.
That's exactly right. Bayway is our new sponsor, and we welcome them to the show. And we are going to play one of their commercials right now, as a matter of fact.
What a segue.
Beautiful.
It is.
You know
isn't
what's
it?
a Segway? About 3 pounds.
Oh.
A Segway.
It's an old joke.
very old joke.
Apparently so, and I guess I missed
Nobody
it back
thinks
in
it's
the
funny
day.
either.
Yep.
But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to have another guest who brought an absolutely fabulous car here. And we're going to talk to him right after this quick break. Stay with us.
When you're ready to shop Chevrolet, we know one that should be at the top of your list. Bayway. Locally owned by Houston-born and raised Daryl Wisniewski, Bayway brings a sense of family to your Chevrolet buying experience. When you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, you now have a place to go. General Manager Lincoln Stahl guarantees Bayway will beat any competitor's written price on the new vehicle you choose or pay you $1,000. Bayway Chevrolet is located only 8 minutes from the Beltway and Highway 288. Whether it's online or in person, you'll be welcomed like one of the family. BaywayChevrolet.com. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com.
Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, this is the In Wheel Time Car Show. Today, coming to you from the Lupe Tortilla out here on the Southwest Freeway.
Yep.
Between Shepherd and Kirby. This is Lupe number 2. We are your all things automotive place. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeff Zeek, and Chief Engineer David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. Today, again, we're coming to you from the Lupes for the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. We're here till 11 o'clock, still plenty of time to cruise in. Just stop by and see some of the beautiful rides here today. Mr. Mars.
Speaking of which.
Yes.
Sitting right out there, just out of our eyesight, that white 61 Studebaker Hawk.
Gorgeous. It's not out of my eyesight.
Well, I've got to walk here.
I noticed
gotta
it when he
lean
drove
over.
in.
Yeah, we saw him come in. And Harvey Grojisk.
That's correct.
Close, huh?
Close.
Harvey
is the owner.
Spell your last name.
Grodjesk.
You know, meet Jeff Zekin. There you go. I think we're kind of, I don't know, somehow, some way there's.
Mine is DZIEKAN.
Well, mine was shortened because my father decided to Americanize it.
Oh.
And that's the American version.
Well, the proper pronunciation.
So,
Don't ask.
besides all of that,
I used to pronounce it Mars.
Right. So, the Studebaker Hawk.
Yeah.
I think I've only seen probably 4 or 5 of them in my day, but I will tell you that my dear friend Puss Wilson's brother, Kenneth Wilson, actually had one back in 68, 69, and his sat lower to the ground than yours. I don't know why, but he always bragged about the fact that he couldn't drive over a beer can without it scraping the bottom. Have you had a problem with anything like that on your car?
No. I restored the car. When I first bought the car, which it was a New York car, and came out.
Are you from New York?
Originally from New Jersey, actually, but I'm not proud of that. So I said I moved to New York and I started living there.
It's Joyzy where the boys go choip choip.
He knows.
I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah,
he's a Long Islander.
Yeah, so it was being driven by the original owner in the town I lived in Larchmont, New York, and I saw the car at the light, and it was sitting there smoking and doing what Studebakers did, and it was low to the ground, and it had a lot of issues. But I ran up to her at the light, and I said, if you ever want to sell this car, she was in her 70s at the time, give me a call. And about 2 years later, I got a phone call from her.
Oh, wow.
Decided to sell the car. And I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. Well, it had no floorboards in it anymore. Had no trunk in it. It had all rusted out.
It's a New York car.
The fenders had holes in it, but it was still running. And her local mechanic said, look, I can't pass this car on inspection anymore. He said, even your plywood boards across the floorboards had rotted away.
Oh gosh.
So I bought the car, and I bought the car for $200.
Oh my gosh.
I was the
And now $200,000 later, he's got a fully restored Studebaker.
and I was the high bidder.
At $200.
At $200, I was the sucker because, and so it was an 8-year restoration for me.
Wow.
I did it myself.
Did you
Okay.
really?
I did the
So
car myself.
Magnificent job.
Except the paint, and I had the paint done, and the car went through a little drama. I moved down to Houston. The car was still up in New York. I gave it to a shop to have the transmission done. They took the car over to a transmission place, and then the owners got into an argument.
And your car was between it.
I was between it. And so I had to go back to New York and work all that out. But then the transmission shop, when they returned the car, had scratched the whole sides of the car. So anyway, I brought it down to Houston and got it.
Beautiful car.
Finalized.
I love the wide whites on it.
Yeah.
So tell us about, the powertrain and stuff that's in it.
Well, it's original 289. Of course, the Hawks back in '57, they had a supercharger. They had the Paxton.
R2?
Well, that was
Avante.
That was the Avante, but in '57 it just had a supercharged Paxton. So Studebaker bought Paxton, and that's why they started putting it on the cars.
Okay.
And they owned a whole series of things. I think I actually owned Clark vacuum cleaners. Studebaker had a whole line of mechanical products. So I bought the car. It's 289. It's an automatic, very basic.
Two-speed?
It's normally 2-speed.
When it wants to shift.
Right. But it does have a low in it that you manually can put in. So it's a 2-speed transmission, but for the snow and the ice. And it was set up so you could rock the car in and out of the snow, where they put the reverse and the low, and you moved it back and forth, so you didn't have to go all through neutral.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it doesn't say parental power, park,
right?
Reverse, neutral, drive, and low.
Yeah.
So they did that, but Studebaker was going. They didn't have a lot of money. They had bought Packard by then,
and there was a shared body-ish to a Packard.
Right.
With the Hawk, but the whole front end of it kind of looked catfishy.
It kind of looked, it looked like a tuna mouth
car,
but that was just a modified Hawk. Because in '53, that car style really didn't change from '53 to '61 because they couldn't afford to do all the dyes for the sheet metal. So the fins on that were screwed on to the car. And they would change it.
Really?
Yeah. Those fins, if you take all the molding off.
I never knew that.
It's all screwed on.
So year to year, as they would change the fin design, that was just a bolt-on.
That was just bolt-on.
I learned something new every day.
We all did.
Right. Of course, the car originally had no fins, so it had that curved back.
Right.
And fins became popular, so they started screwing fins onto it, and they didn't have the money. They made some money with the Lark. They came out with the Lark.
Right. Yeah, remember that.
Prior to the Falcon and Corvair. But as soon as Ford and Chevy caught up the next year, again, they were in trouble. And they came out with the Avanti, which was the Raymond Loewy design.
Right.
They stuck him in a couple engineers in a room down in Palm Springs, California.
Rough place.
Yeah, and they locked themselves into a motel room, and 3 weeks later they had the Avanti, or 4 weeks later they had the Avanti style. And then it went up to Studebaker, and they put it out. Studebaker made some financial mistakes, and the Avanti survived after Studebaker didn't, but by '65 I think Studebaker was bankrupt.
Yeah.
And that was it.
What a great story. So how long have you had the paint job, the restoration? How long ago was that?
I started it in '91. I finished it in 1999. And the one interesting thing is I have to honor the lady that owned it. Her name You think I have a hard name? Her name was Ennis Ingeltinger.
Ingeltinger.
Ennis Ingeltinger. I guess it was Dutch.
Yeah.
And that car came with Studebaker made individualized plaques for the owners. And
So do you still have Ennis Ingeltinger's plaque on the car?
Ennis Ingeltinger's plaque is still on the glove compartment.
Was her plaque a little bit longer than John Smith's
Right.
plaque?
In fact, she had to pay an extra $100 for the car just because they used so much more brass to
How
do
funny.
that.
Well, you know,
Was that before spell check?
that was before spell check.
It's spelled any way you like.
Well, I think that it's commendable that you, sir, are the second owner.
Right.
And,
man,
that you still honor the original owner in the car as well. That's a cool piece to the story.
so the underpinnings of the car, anything special with that? Problems in restoration or anything?
No, Studebaker parts, actually, because they didn't change design for so many years. All the parts are readily available, not so much for chrome and anything that was made from pot metal. You know, that all disappeared, but the drivetrain,
floor pans and stuff were okay when you were doing it.
Yeah, the floor pans you could get from, you know, they're not original floor pans, but you know, Studebaker had enough of a following that they have people that do reproductions.
Repops, yeah.
And you know that people laugh because when I learned to weld on the car, so, but I didn't do spot welding because they didn't trust it. So every panel in there is full weld all the way around. I think there's about 50, 60 pounds of weld in there. Yeah, you know, but it's held up. It was a repaint in 1999 is when I put it on the road, and I haven't touched it since.
Wow.
I did have a rear wheel fall off. Broken axle on it.
Wow.
And
is that the original color combination with
yeah.
I'm not gonna say turquoise, but it's not a blue, is it?
Yeah, it's I guess I'll call it a sky mist blue.
Okay.
It was matched its original colors.
Wow.
So it was white with that blue, and it was a two-tone. And you know, you could get it in blue, you could get it in red. They had.
And that body style was actually quite popular, I'm assuming, for the aerodynamics at Bonneville as well. The Hawk, there's a lot of cars to this day that run Bonneville in that Hawk body.
Yeah, and the Hawks, the one thing is Studebakers are not expensive cars, you know, in value. They compared to a Chevy or a Ford, you want to buy a 61 Ford or 61 Chevy. If you look at the pricing on Studebakers, even restored, they go for a lot less money because I guess they don't have the following that Ford and Chevy do.
Do you do all the service work yourself, or do you take it somewhere?
Now I take it from, you know, I'm 71 years old. I'm reached the point in my life I'm not climbing under the car, and I don't have a lift. So, you know, I have a friend out, Tom Teskey, does a lot of the work, a couple of the shops around here. But it's an easy car to work on. You know,
and you live around here?
Yeah, I live over in West University area. So yeah, it
So
was
do
quick
you
drive.
go to a lot of cruise-ins or car shows?
I don't do car shows too much. Cruise-ins. I'm well past showing the cars.
Right.
And
What brought you out today?
Me.
Oh,
yeah,
of course.
Josh,
He called me on the phone last night and said, Don, you going to be there? I said, yes. He says, I'm in.
Because you're his huckleberry.
Actually, it was my wife. She said, you know, these
out of the house and go
remarkable
do something.
radio guys are going to be
That's
there,
what it
and
is.
you have to.
Where are they?
You have to meet them. So
Well, the other thing is proximity for you, because this is close enough to the
Right.
house, makes it kind of easy to pop the car
yeah,
out.
and today, being it was overcast, we have another car, 57 T-Bird. So it's convertible, and I said I'm not running around trying to put the top up on that. And the Studebaker, yeah, we've taken it on some really long drives around Texas, and friends have
very good.
come up. So, you know, we've put 1,000, 2,000 miles on the car on a
Weekend trips,
little
great.
week trip. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it is I'm sure everywhere you stop, people come over to talk to you about it because it's a beautifully designed car. To me, I've always liked the style of it.
but the fins on the back are bolted on.
It's the beauty of it.
Never knew that.
That is the coolest. That's the coolest story ever.
Yeah, and
Who would have known?
And you have to learn how to hide those bolts, so all the chrome
Chrome
stripping
trim, yeah.
does a good job.
Well, you know, absolutely clever.
I
would
never
have
knew that.
Me either. Never have guessed that in a million years.
That's what happens when you don't have money anymore.
Well, but there is a passionate Studebaker crowd of people
Followers,
out there.
yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm a member of a couple of their online Facebook pages and stuff because I've just loved the look of the Hawk, but the story of Studebaker as well. So it's pretty interesting. I'm learning stuff listening to you.
And I mean, Studebaker started out as a wagon maker
Right.
back in around 1860s. So I think they were making.
I wasn't around
wagon.
back then.
I was.
Were you?
I was.
Don.
In fact, that was my first, dating vehicle was a
Got it.
horse and
Studebaker
carriage.
wagon.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So but we have a good time with the car, and it is unusual.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And today, a lot of people don't even know the Studebaker story, or that it
Branding.
even was a
Yeah.
brand, or that it had a marquee.
That,
to
you know,
it.
and when you get to our age, we tend to forget that because it's been around all of our lives, but it went out a long time ago, and I don't think that anybody, certainly a millennial on up, would never know what that is.
Yeah, the story of some of the orphaned brands isn't told to enough people.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you stop by and talk to us today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the education.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And if you guys need any kind of fin screws, bolts, I've got a good stock of fin screws and bolts.
Very
just
nice.
In case.
Well, we hope to run into you again soon.
Okay.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
stopping
much.
Thank you
by.
for having me.
You bet. I know that we have a little feature that we need to get in, but I have to turn the page because my memory isn't as good as it used to be. It's time for This Week in Auto History.
Dun, dun,
And now,
dun.
ladies and gentlemen, here's Conrad DeLong with This Week in Auto History.
Yeah, as soon as I find it.
Oh, so I'm not by myself then. Uh-huh.
So
Busted.
this week in auto history, kind of a different week. A couple of sad stories to tell. In 1905, the first aerial car ferry was put in operation in Duluth, Minnesota.
Wait a minute. What? Run that? What? An
An
area?
aerial car ferry. As soon as the picture comes up, you'll see it. And it was a bridge that was put over the canal in Duluth, Minnesota, that the cars got on this ferry, and not a ferry like you think of. It would cross like a bridge when there weren't any boats coming by. So you'd see the little ferry down
Like
there.
a cantilever.
Yeah, like cantilevered bridge, and then they'd load cars up on it, and it would cross on a rail system to the other side when there weren't any boats coming by. The weirdest thing in the world, and I just thought that was kind of a cool little story. In 1923, there's a close-up picture of the ferry itself. In 1923, Firestone Tire and Rubber Company in Akron, Ohio, began the balloon tire production. So, in honor of Jeff,
There you go.
the balloon tires were air-inflated tires versus the solid tires that they had used prior to that.
Balloon
I
tires.
don't
That's
know
what they
whether to-
called them.
I
Back
don't
in
know
the
whether
day.
to take that as an insult.
Jeff sold those things
Yeah.
not too long ago,
Yeah.
the balloon tires.
And then in
tire.
1934, Ford Motor Company, and remember, Ford Motor Company was almost exclusively a Firestone tire
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yep.
Ford Motor Company introduced white walls in 1934, and
Look
then
at
you
that.
can kind of see the progression of white walls well, you went a little fast
Oh,
there,
sorry,
Jeffrey.
sorry.
You can see the
My
progression
fingers are
of white
cold.
walls from the thin white walls to the wide whites, and then back to the thins again. So
Are we going to have to find somebody to do your
The
job?
finger.
He can't
You
keep
know,
his
and by
fingers
the,
warm.
and by the 50s, the white walls were pretty standard on most cars, and it's kind of hard to imagine a 1953, 1954 Corvette or 54 or 55 Corvette without white walls on them, because that was standard equipment on them. And then in 1947, and actually I think today is the anniversary day, is when Henry Ford had passed away.
Yeah, we see that.
I mean,
Do
again,
you have a picture of him in the
a
grave?
casket.
Or
I
something?
didn't want
What
to.
is this?
I just,
Would he
I just
die in a
left it
fire
at
or
that.
what?
Yeah. No, he just passed away from cerebral hemorrhage. So he had a brain aneurysm.
We think that he had that several years earlier.
But
that's
also
another story.
today, in 1947, was the Texas City ship explosion.
God, that was terrible.
That was horrible. You know, in the middle of the morning, the SS Grand Camp, which was docked at the port, was unloading ammonium nitrate, and which is a fertilizer, and it caught fire, and the whole Texas City Fire Department and everybody from the shipyards were there putting it out, and then it exploded. It killed everyone except one of the Texas City Fire
Didn't the
Department
water,
members.
they put water on it, and that's what spread it or ignited it?
It spread it on the ground, and then it mixed in with the fuel from the fuel barge that was there, and that's what caused the real big explosion. What was it, 860 some odd people had passed away. They had damage 10 miles away in Galveston.
Have you ever been down there? There's a marker for it. The anchor is there.
The anchor was shot a mile and a half through the air. So yeah, been there. In 19, where are we at here? How did we get to that one?
That's right after the fire shot.
Oh, well, I goofed that one up.
No, what's this one right here?
No, go to the next one. In 1964.
We always blame it on Jeff,
I
but
know,
apparently it's not.
Exactly.
In 1964, on April 17th, Ford Mustang introduced the two-seat mid-engine sports car was unveiled at the Henry Ford Museum in Flushing Meadows, New York. And
Maybe he was sitting in the car.
Yep. And then at the World's Fair. So the World's Fair was the kickoff for the Mustang, and they sold 22,000 Mustangs on that day, on opening day of the introduction of the Mustang. In 1965, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel opened, connecting the east side and the west side of the Chesapeake Bay. I think it's an interesting story because you got this big bridge that comes to a tunnel, and then it goes under the water. The oddest thing in how that works, and then the ship channel through the middle of it.
Well, because it's cheaper to do it that way than to have the whole thing underneath the water.
But it's 17 miles of causeway that comes to this where you duck down under the water. I don't know. I just think it's the weirdest thing to build the tunnel out in the water as opposed to on the side of the water. I don't know. Anyhow.
Because it's probably the deepest part of the channel, don't you think?
Yeah, which would be the most difficult place to build the tunnel.
So
because you got to get the boats through there.
Oh no, I understand why
we have
they
that
did
here
it.
in the Houston Ship Channel. It's called the Washburn Tunnel. You ever been in it?
I thought they closed the tunnel.
Not the Washburn.
What's the one on 146?
No, that's been gone a long time
that's what
ago.
I thought. I used to take the one on 146. I hated it. I'm just a little paranoid.
They have a much prettier bridge now.
Yes, they do. It's a very good-looking bridge.
Take the Washburn Tunnel sometime.
Would it be the channel?
Goes to over there in Pasadena. Pasadena.
No, that would be the Punnel. The Pasadena Tunnel. The Punnel.
The Punnel?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, well, the other picture was
Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, the picture I kind of goofed on was the picture of Jim Clark, one of the greatest Grand Prix drivers of all time. He passed away this week in 1968 in a Formula 2 race in Hockenheim. Jim Clark was one of the greatest Formula 1 drivers of all time, and his entire career in Formula 1 was driving for Colin Chapman in Lotuses.
Hobby.
I didn't realize that.
Did he not also drive Indy cars?
Yeah, he was driving a Lotus when he drove an Indy car. That was the introduction of the rear engine.
As a matter of fact, that car is on display at the Henry Ford
Museum.
At the Henry Ford Museum, a little green thing with the rear engine in
that
it.
British racing green.
Oh, my God. And you look at that car and you think,
I
wonder if anybody had any idea the technology that went into that car, and it's still used today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is this week in automotive history.
Thank you very much. All right. We are at the Lupe Tortilla, number 2, on 5969, the Southwest Freeway. It's Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, the once-a-month cruise-in. Normally, we're out at Katy Freeway location, and we're going to be back out on the Katy city of Katy.
Next visit.
City of Katy.
Actually,
it's not the Katy Freeway.
Let's not get into all that again.
That's for the Uber driver.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
It is the Kingsland and Grand Parkway location.
There you go.
Time now
in Katy.
Time now for the stories making auto news headlines this week. The coronavirus outbreak in Michigan, which has really ramped up here in the past week,
What a mess.
which has emerged as the worst U.S. hotspot, is surging in a critical factory for Stellantis, the Ram pickup,
Oh, boy.
with an estimated 10% of the production employees out for COVID-related reasons. About 630 production workers were absent on Tuesday of this week because they either tested positive for COVID-19 or were in quarantine, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. That's up by roughly 200 workers from a week ago. People said there represents roughly a tenth of production workers as the plant in Sterling Heights, Michigan is known. Michigan, by the way, had 55,091 new COVID cases in the last 7 days.
And they're shut down. Michigan is, the whole state's in quarantine. They're shut down. Texas is wide open.
And David's going to go up there for his summer vacation again.
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
And he may be up there for the entire summer.
Yeah, that's
He'll have to quarantine 14 days going in and quarantine 14 days coming out and have 1 day on the lake.
Subaru has issued a pair of recalls affecting more than 800,000 late model vehicles in the U.S. to
That's a
repair
lot of
problems
Subarus.
relating to engine control modules and rear stabilizer brackets. First recall involves 2017 to 19 Imprezas and 2018 to 19 Crosstreks to check and potentially update the programming of the vehicle's engine control modules and replace their ignition coils, which could degrade over time. That's kind of bizarre. Also recalling 405,000 Forester and Crosstrek models to examine and retorque the bolts on those vehicles' rear stabilizer bar, which can come loose over time.
Yikes.
Toyota recalling 279,000 older Venza crossovers because the supplemental restraint system wiring in some of them may become damaged with regular use of the driver's side door. Well, don't you have to use the driver's side door
Just to get in and out of it.
all the time? Oh, let me
Twice a day. If you
here.
only
Let me
drove
go
it
sit in the
once.
passenger side for a couple of hours just for the heck of it.
And they've already recalled that airbag, so.
Yeah, the recall will cover certain 2019 to 15 model year vehicles. In other recalls, Chevy Tahoe, let's see, Chevy Colorado, GMC Canyon, and a bazillion Mercedes-Benz. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, it's on recall, as well as the Lincoln Aviator, the Porsche Macan.
Going to tell us what the recalls are? Or
No,
just that they're in recall?
it's too.
But the trick is safercars.gov on the internet.
Yeah.
Bring your insurance card with you. Plug your 17-digit VIN into it, and check your car for recalls. That's safercar.gov.
So did you happen to see? Look! This is what I did because of all of the Mercedes that are being recalled.
Basically all of them.
Pretty much
I need
every
to check. I need to
single
check for Angela's GLC.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you want to
So
check
you heard,
on it? Now?
you heard Ford Motor Company is shutting down more of their plants, building pickup trucks. 5 facilities here in the United States and 1 in Turkey for chip shortages due to COVID.
And here's an interesting thing, and this will be our last story for this hour.
That's my hint.
It is your hint to shut up. Sorry, didn't mean that.
No, shut your face.
Shut your face. That's right. Luxury brands raced out of the gates in the first quarter, a time of year when they typically underperform following their seasonal year-end marketing programs. Overall, U.S. luxury sales rose 20% to 547,903 cars and light trucks in the quarter, significantly outperforming the broader industry's 12% increase. With the premium surge, the annualized light vehicle sales pace in March jumped to 18.1 million, which is pretty much typical for a usual year, at least the past few years, according to Motor Intelligence. The luxury sector's share of industry retail sales climbed to 15.2%, a record for the first quarter dating back to at least to the start of this century, according to J.D. Power.
George Skelton was asking, was the Mitsubishi Pajero ever recalled?
Pajero.
You can't say.
You only recall it late at night.
Yeah, you remember there's a difference between the word Pajero and what you said, and we want to go with the Pajero, I think, brand.
The pejorative.
Can lead them to water.
Yep.
Hey, blame George.
Okay, thank you, George. All right, it's time now to take a break. Thank you very much for joining us today on the In Wheel Time Car Show, coming to you today from the Lupe Tortilla #2 out here in the Southwest Freeway. Quick break now, and we will be back right after I look at my sheet to figure out what commercial I'm going to play.
Bayway.
There's many of them, but I'm going to play this one.
Winning the highest sales satisfaction award among all luxury brands from J.D. Power in 2020 tells you everything you need to know about your Lincoln purchase from Bayway. Bayway Lincoln is where a premium buying experience is a priority, and you're invited to feel it yourself. This Houstonian-owned premier dealership is managed by Lincoln Stahl, a seasoned member of the Bayway family. If it's online, in person, or in your own driveway, Bayway gets you to the luxury level you deserve. Bayway Lincoln is on the Gulf Freeway at Fuquay, just inside Beltway 8. Visit BaywayLincoln.com today. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy, weather permitting.
Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show, today coming to you live from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex restaurant here on the Southwest Freeway between Shepherd and Kirby Drive. We'll be talking to more of the participants at today's event. Also, Jeff's going to review our pre-owned car of the week, the 2018 Audi Q5. Conrad will have his car clinic, and we'll have the stories making auto news headlines this week. That and more just ahead on today's In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, April 18th, 2021. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeff Zekin, and Master Engineer David Ainsley. We are so glad that you could join us today. And you know,
We've even got the guests doing it.
and the one thing that I failed to mention and that we really haven't gotten to because it's a little bit hard to see, the word of the day.
Yep.
The word of the day today is
used it.
huckleberry.
I used it once.
Well, you're supposed to use it, not tell people. And then we're going to have people guess on Facebook what the word of the day was, and Mars is going to give him a gift.
You know, it would be great if you would tell me what the rules are before I spill the beans.
No. This is like politics. We're just going to make the rules up as we go along.
And you got to hit your bell. You used it. Hit your bell.
That way you're always wrong.
There you go.
Okay, Mr. Mars, it's your turn. What a lead in.
Yeah. What a lead-in. You know, when we go out to the Mecum auction, you know, it's a great car show. We go look at all the cars and everything. And one of the things I'm always looking for and drooling over is the roadsters, like a 32 Ford Roadster. And we have one pull in the parking lot, complete with flathead and everything. And Gene McFadden is the owner. And I got to learn more about this vehicle. Gene, how are you, sir?
I am well, thank you. And I certainly did not expect this kind of reception. As a matter of fact,
well, we were all on our feet earlier, but you just kept on walking by.
When you pulled in, we all stopped to watch your car drive by and then to see the flathead, and it was awesome.
Well, thank you. I was going to bring my 41 Studebaker, but it's parked ahead of the Roadster, and it's not registered, and it's a little more problematic to get started because it only started about once a month.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it starts, but...
Well, I noticed that you parked next to the Studebaker there earlier.
Well, that was purely coincidental.
Yeah, was it? Okay.
And I also own one half of a 53 Studebaker Commander, which is a Bonneville race car. But that's another story.
For another day.
The Roadster sitting out there was not commissioned by me. It was commissioned by a man whose name I don't even know. But it was in Tucson, Arizona, and he wanted to build a street rod the way a man would have built it in 1950.
Right.
From parts that existed in 1950. So he spent a good number of years assembling the parts, and he and a friend of his who owns a garage named Mick were going to put it together. And the man apparently had some personal reversals. I don't know the nature of them, but he had to abandon the project. So he gave it to Mick. And I don't know what their arrangement was, but Mick did put the car together, and it is put together very well.
So is it got a Model A chassis on it?
No, it's a Model B chassis, a Model B chassis. That includes a lot.
Yeah.
Well, how about the frame? Let me put it that way.
The frame is 32.
Okay.
Okay.
It is aftermarket. It's made by American Stamping. So it's not the original. It's not Henry.
Well, it's probably the best because those are rare and full of holes.
Probably is.
Yeah.
But it does have some other components in the chassis which are Ford.
Okay.
But they aren't necessarily 32. As a matter of fact, some of them are 28. So there's a few Model A parts.
All right.
Whatever people would have done back in 1950,
That's
they
what-
mix
yeah.
and match.
Right.
If it works, they did it.
Scratching stuff out of a
Absolutely.
salvage yard to build a hot rod.
That's right. The block is an 8BA, which means it's late 40s, early 50s. That was probably one of the best blocks. It's the one that's sought after.
That would be the end of the flathead era,
I
correct?
believe that there may have been a model after that, but yes, it was very toward the end of the flathead.
Uh-huh.
And it has a Mercury crank, which gives it an extra quarter-inch of stroke, which is something they
Stroker
did back
motor.
then.
Well, and there's a lot of people that don't realize that there was a variance between a Ford flathead and a Mercury flathead.
Not much, but the crank was one of them, and that gave it a little more stroke. And it is kind of torquey, even though it has a cam in it. It's a mile cam, but it's a cam, and it makes some pretty good low end torque.
I've driven one flathead in my life, and there is something unique about it, and I can't even explain it. But it runs as smooth as silk. That was my impression of the one that I drove anyway. It was just a different feel to it.
Well, it is a different feel.
Good. Thank you for confirming that. I thought I was losing my mind. But
No, you weren't losing your mind. Now, if it had some wild cam in it, then it probably wouldn't have been as smooth.
This car
down
did
low.
not have that. No.
No. Well,
Yeah.
mine doesn't have a wild cam either. As a matter of fact, I've noticed that when I really want to accelerate, I'm in second gear and I'm really zooming up. When I'm ready to shift, I look down, it's 3,500 RPM. So I don't think I've ever had it above 4,000.
But, I mean, back in the day, for a flathead V8, the beginning of the V8 era, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Very much
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So those aren't factory heads on it, though.
Sharp. Sharp head. They're made by Sharp.
Sharp, okay.
And that's the one thing that really attracted me to it. Let me tell you, I flew to Tucson to meet with a friend, and he's a friend, a Bonneville type friend. He races a sports car out there at Bonneville. And he picked me up at the airport, and I had just sold a Lakester. My first race car was a Lakester. I've started at the top, and I'm working my way down.
Okay.
And I'd sold the Lakester, and Bonner asked me, he says, what are you going to do now that you sold the Lakester? I said, I'm going to buy a street rod because I want to be able to drive something on the street without having to tow it 1,700 miles with a crew of 4 or 5 people. I mean,
Yeah.
So he said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I don't know, but I do know that whatever I buy, it has to fit. He says, how's that? And I said, well, I've sat in a whole lot of cars, they don't fit.
Yeah.
Too cramped, something, not
Sure.
enough room.
Yep.
So he
I
says,
know the feeling.
he says, well, I know where a guy's just completed a 32 Ford Roadster, a high boy, and he said, do you want to see it? I said, well, I've really sat in a whole lot of 32 Fords because that's what I really was kind of leaning to. I'd made a model of a 32 Ford when I was a kid, high boy Roadster.
Yeah.
So he says, oh, well, do you want to see it? I said, sure. So we go over there, and that car's sitting out front of this guy's shop.
Did it look like that then?
It looked just like that then.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I've done nothing to it.
And it's
other
beautiful. We love it.
So I look at it. The paint was fresher then. I need to do something to the paint. It's getting a little gray. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I walked up to it, and of course I saw the finned aluminum heads, and I said, well, they're probably Offenhauser Edelbrock. You know.
Well, I thought when you drove by, I thought they were offies.
Well, of course. Edelbrock, right? So I look at it and say, Sharp. I said, oh, Sharp heads. So then I look at the manifold. It says Thixton. I said, Thixton? And my friend says, yeah, that was a big brand name back in the day. I said, really? So I go in and I say, would it be okay if I sat in this car? Sure. I'll go out and sit in it.
And it fit.
It fit.
Oh,
I bought it.
there you go.
Now, there was some negotiations, of course. I didn't say
Oh,
it
it
fits,
is.
I'm buying it. But,
Yeah.
you know, I gave him a day or two to sit on it, and we came back and we negotiated.
It's got
and blah,
two
blah.
carburetors on it.
Yes, 2 Stromberg 97s. And a flathead, there's probably not too much need to put any more carburetors in that because
You can only pour so much gas in it.
well, there's only some air. You know,
Yeah.
hot rod, what you're trying to do is get more air.
Well,
It's easy to put more fuel.
How is it trying to balance those carburetors?
They're balanced.
Are they?
Well,
Yeah,
if they're
just-
not, I
ju-
don't.
just-
I don't-
just
if they're not,
Throw
I
it
don't
on
know.
there and they're balanced.
Yeah, they
I
don't,
got
they
it.
don't give you any problems then.
Yeah. So is it a 12-volt system or a 6-volt system?
It is a 12.
It's a 12.
In that generator housing, I'm told, is an alternator.
Okay.
And,
Well, that keeps it period correct looking.
But yeah,
a
but
whole lot more
there are
stable.
2 things the guy did. That one is a 12-volt, and the other, and then the headlight, inside the headlight cans are modern lighting.
Okay.
you know,
Interesting.
So it has a turn indicator too. Kind of attaches to the.
Yeah, to
Yes,
the column.
I remember
Yeah.
those.
Bolts onto the
So anyway,
column.
when I turn that on, there's little amber lights in the bottom of the headlight can. I mean, you know, so and then the other concession that was to comfort was it does have an upholstered glad seat instead of say aluminum bomber seats.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so I mean I'm glad of that because I'm 76 now.
It's a little tough on the butt when you're sitting on hard aluminum.
Well, it's a pretty rough ride anyway.
Pretty firm.
People say, "Well, how fast you drive it?" And I say, "Well, I like to take it up to about 60. I've had it over a little over 70, but above 60, it gets lively."
Yeah. Right.
Starts
You got to
dancing
drive
around-
it when
Yeah.
you get up
dancing
there.
around.
People
a
say,
little
"Kind of squirrely." I say, "Well, not quite squirrely yet, but it gets lively."
It lets you know it could get squirrely.
So
Yeah,
does it have leaf springs all around it?
It does. It has leaf springs on front and back. You know, the crossways.
And,
Well-
and Corvette thought they were the first ones to do it. Little did they know that Henry was doing it way back in the 30s and 20s.
Well, I mean, just that in itself makes it tightly sprung when you don't have any weight on it other than a very thin body and not much of that anyway. So it rides stiff, I'm sure.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. There's not a thin body on the left, but the rest of it, you know.
You know, how fun is that? I mean, that's a fun car.
I bought it in 2011 and early. That's really when it was delivered. I think I bought it in late 2010, but it was still out in Tucson. And it got here, and I've been enjoying it ever since. I drive it to some of the little local shows like this.
Right.
Right.
And I was so delighted. Now, I heard you say that the next one of these is going to be back out in Katy.
Yeah.
But do you expect
Well,
to come in?
this one is supposed to be here, just that we're going to be out in Katy.
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
but you want to drive all the way out there to see us again, I can tell. That look in your
Well,
eye.
I could, but what I'm interested in, I live very near here.
Right.
So this is
but
very
they'll still be
convenient.
having a show here.
The third
good.
Saturday of the month, it'll be right here.
So it's y'all that
we get
y'all
to move.
sleep around.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's exactly right. We
Okay.
do.
Okay.
And
I've only been married once.
we do sleep around.
Don's my huckleberry.
Okay. I have a
I
word
get a ding. Thank you.
for next week. You can use the word thingle.
Fingal.
Yes,
Thingle heads.
It's thingle. It's
We'll have to
more
look it up.
sophisticated than thingy. You know, like this is sort of a thingy. You know, but
Right, yeah.
Oh.
If it's a little more sophisticated,
Oh,
you know, it's a
thingle.
thingle.
The thingle.
Instead of a thingy,
Yeah.
it's
All
a
right, well,
thingle.
we'll keep that in mind.
Like a whatchamacallit.
We're up-
And
Upscale.
by the way, I've copyrighted that, so I want a royalty if you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you all the money
the
we
check's
have.
in the mail. Yeah.
So you have any other plans other than just to drive it? Did you want
do
anything
not.
mechanically that you want to do to it?
I do not. It is what it is. The guy did a great job of making a 1950 era street rod.
And it's reliable.
And it looks very.
The biggest problem I had with it was that occasionally when I was driving it, particularly on a very warm day and the temperature got up a little over 160 on the gauge, whatever that might really be,
Right.
is that it would suddenly, usually when I'm idling, it would suddenly die and refuse to start. Well, obviously I figured vapor lock.
Yeah.
So almost every time it happened was was near a little corner grocery, and I'd go and get some ice and put it on the fuel line and the carburetor and all that. And if I didn't have that, I'd just dribble some water over it, being careful not to drop water on the block. And after a while, it would restart. And so I said, I'm going to make that. One thing, the guy had routed the fuel line right over the bell housing. And this happened frequently.
Absorbing all that heat.
Yeah, and frequently when there are at least 2 or 3 times when it happens when I was in a lot of stop and go, using the clutch a lot.
Right.
So one thing I did is a buddy of mine and I got some steel line, and we rerouted it to where it doesn't go near the block or the bell
heat,
housing.
yeah.
And we also wrapped it with insulation. I said, God, finally this problem is solved.
No, it wasn't.
And I was driving home, and it quit, exactly like before. And I said, well, if it's not fuel-related, it must be electrically related. I'm going to replace the coil.
The coil.
The coil. So I replaced the coil in the ballast resistor under it. Hadn't had a problem.
Yeah, I remember, now that you say that, I remember some of the old Chevrolets back in the early days.
Well, wait a minute.
Housing
No,
was
how
crap.
early was it, Mike?
It was
The
long time ago.
1950s, huh, Mike?
No, it was in the 60s. But the housing on the coil itself would crack, and it would
bleed
start
out.
doing
Oh,
that.
yeah. So it apparently was the coil.
So tell us about your hat, because your hat, people probably can't see. It says Bonneville 200-mile-an-hour Club Life Member.
Yes.
So was that in your Lakester?
No. The Lakester, when I bought the Lakester from Nick Arias, it was the Arias Lakester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was iconic. And
Very
everyone
much so, yeah.
should own a car that's that iconic once in their life. And sometimes I regret having sold it, but you do what you have to do,
Yeah.
Life goes on. And so do the expenses.
I got one of those myself. But,
So, after I sold the Lakester and owned this Roadster, I teamed up with a couple of guys. One of them was a Norwegian, but he grew up here, went to A&M, and he and another guy owned a modified Roadster, B-blown gas modified Roadster, which is a class. The B is the engine size, and the rest describes the car and what they do to the engine, like blown gas.
yeah.
Anyway, so I teamed up with them. Oh, well, first, the Lakester. The Lakester record was pretty soft. It was 274 and some change. And it should have been around 290. So I was trying to set a record with his Lakester. And I should have done it, but it's never easy. And there's always little problems.
Always
that crop
something
up.
comes up.
Always something happens that frustrates you. And first it was the lifters, and then it was an oiling problem. And anyway, then a guy came out there. Oh, and by the way, the Lakester was about 20 years old.
Yeah. That helped a lot.
Yeah.
And can we assume it had an Arias Hemi in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It had the Arias Hemi, yes. Right. And which is quite an engine, really.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was
he
their-
wanted to be the drag race engine of choice, but it turned out being more used in tractor pulls and offshore racing, boat racing.
More power.
Yeah,
Instead
and
of
reliability.
speed.
It was
A little more
it was
durable.
beefy, yeah.
Yeah.
But it never really caught on with the drag race crew community. But anyway, I didn't set the record, and Seth Hammond came out with his new state-of-the-art carbon fiber, beautifully streamlined, exhaust not out in the wind, and he pretty soon ran the record up to 290 something, which is where it belonged, and he's subsequently gotten it over 300 in that class.
Yeah.
So anyway, took the Lakester out one year and let the crew drive, because they had never been able to drive it before, because we always had some problem that made us stop.
Right.
Welcome
So
to Bonneville.
Yeah, at Bonneville. So I let the crew drive that year, and they loved it. There were 6 passes made by 3 of them, 2 each. And, there's some stories there, too. But anyway, I teamed up with these guys with the modified Roadster, and we've went out there the first year. Oh, and that Roadster held the record, by the way. And one of the guys I'm working with got his red hat in that Roadster.
Okay.
So I'm working on his record.
Ah.
And the first year, twice, it qualified for the record, but wasn't able to do the backup run.
Okay.
Right, because you got to go both ways.
You got to do, actually go the same way, but you have to do it twice.
Yeah.
It used to be you do it both ways, and you still do in the FIA meets. But anyway, so the next year we went out there, and I drove first. I drove second that first year I went out there with them. I drove first, and I managed to qualify for record on my second run, and then I backed it up the next day. Unfortunately, there was some damage done to the engine, so we had to quit racing. But I did get my red hat.
Got your hat. Yeah,
Yep, got my red hat. And subsequently, I teamed up with a guy named Andy. He's here in Houston, Andy Lloyd. And Andy and I have a Camaro that we've been working on since 2013.
You're still working on it. Sounds like one of our projects.
It's a long story, probably longer than y'all want me to go into
Yes,
here.
it is.
But, but this summer is going to be the summer. It's for sale, by the way.
No, I'm good.
In August the 13th, I'm not trying to sell it to you.
Okay.
In August 13th, it's for sale. And the price I get for it, or we get for it, will, I guess, depend on how well it performs this year.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's after you make the trip to Bonneville.
Yes, after Bonneville. Yes.
So I didn't realize there was anybody here in town that was going to Bonneville.
Oh, there's a bunch. There's a lot of Texans out there. Of course, there's Californians everywhere.
Well, we need to get a hold of you, and we want to do a Bonneville show.
You do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So he's got your address and all, and we'll need to do that.
Speed Week is typically the second week in August.
Yeah. And we're trying to get out of Houston at the second
water
week.
permitting.
Yeah, water permitting.
And if you've never been to Bonneville, you need to go.
Never have.
Every car buff
It's a
needs to go
bucket
to
list event,
Bonneville
right?
once, even just to look.
Just to say I've been there.
Just to experience. It's a happening.
Yeah. It's an automotive bucket list
You know,
thing.
there's a song from the '60s called "It's a Happening." It's
Yeah.
a happening.
Yes, that's right. Well, like Woodstock was a happening. You know,
It was a happening.
Yeah, but there was that song.
And I was going to say, it's kind of like this happening that we're having right now.
That's right.
It's a happening.
So now, Andy and I, then we bought the Guam Bomb, which is a '53 Studebaker.
Yeah.
And it has held many records, or I'll say many, several. And the people that bought it from Terry Hunt, the guy who built it, who was an airline pilot, he was based in Guam, which is why he called it the Guam Bomb. Of course, he built it in Southern California, but he was based in Guam. And he flew all over the Pacific as an airline pilot. And he put it together, and he did a good job.
Gene, I don't mean to cut you short.
Yeah, you do.
But he's about to.
but I am, because we do.
Kinda
Well, let me just say that this 53 Studebaker, we had now hold 2 records with it.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Andy
cool.
does.
All right. And the car's here in Houston.
It is here in Houston.
Well, one of these days we're going to see it.
We will get a hold of you and coordinate some kind of a Bonneville show.
I will be delighted.
Thank
And if Larry Keast has his deal this fall, and we have our cars out there,
You'll invite us.
I'll invite you, and y'all can come out there and see not only our cars, but a lot of other cars, too.
We'd like to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Gene, thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate
I'm going to sign a waiver here that y'all
Yeah.
can use
With
my
the email.
And we're going to
You got
take
an
your
email.
signature, and we're going to steal all of your money.
Both
Have
of
you
them.
seen the price of oil lately?
Right.
Actually, lately it's firmed up a little.
Yeah.
Gene McFadden, our guest, and we thank you so much for stopping
Delighted
by.
to be here.
Thank you. Time now for our car review. The pre-owned car of the week, Mr. Jeffrey Zekin, has an interesting car.
Well, I need to hand this down.
Okay, well,
I'm going to do it from
do
my
that.
spot.
Okay, do it from
It
your
should,
spot.
Did I cue it up?
No, but I will.
All right, beautiful.
So, Jeff, what do you have, sir?
Well, I've got the 2018 Audi Q5.
you call it, what did you call it?
Audi.
An
No,
Audi.
You don't have
Q-
it queued up. Hold on.
Q5.
How about an
Go ahead.
Audi?
Audi.
Audi.
Like
Ow.
an ouchie?
Like an ouchie
Like
or
an
an
ouchie?
Audi navel?
I've got an
It's
innie.
an innie or an Audi.
Okay, so we're doing the 2018 innie Q5.
In any.
Good thing I don't get paid for this. It is an SUV.
None
It
of
is-
us do.
I know. It's a 5-passenger. And one of the things I like, this it's not necessarily exterior changes. It is just the exterior model, what the things are that are current on the vehicle. So you've got daytime running lights, front fog lamps, the Audi Guard protection. You've got hands-free entry, the sleek styling of the headlights.
This is an SUV.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a Q5.
Q. Q and Audi is SUV.
Okay. I just
lighted
wanted to make
mirrors,
sure that
yeah.
everybody understood that we're on the same plane.
on the same
because there's podcasts available of the show.
Right.
Not everybody can see it.
This
So
is
if you're
true.
not familiar with a Q5 Audi, which isn't one of those things that rolls off the tip of your tongue like a Chevy Camaro or something.
But I did say it was an SUV 5-passenger.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying it again.
And Rochelle, my daughter, drives a Q3, the little brother of this one.
Oh,
Okay.
very good.
Now you can continue.
There you go. Sports style grille. Some of the interior highlights of the vehicle, not necessarily changes, would be the multi-adjustable front seats on both sides. You've got the front and rear head airbags, infotainment, 8 touch screen with 180 watts, 10 speakers, 1 subwoofer, nav package, real-time traffic. And much like Mike's review, it's got the Bang Olufsen.
Bang and Olufsen.
That's the one.
Uh-huh.
System with it's a 3D sound system.
I think that in these terms, we just call it the old banger.
The old banger. Yeah, we do.
Rita!
What?
Not Rita.
Rita.
Not Rita. 11 exterior colors, 4 interior colors, leather and cloth are the options. It is a 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbo, 16-valve all-wheel drive.
In blue.
In blue. It's actually called Rita Blue. The horsepower is 252, 273 on the torque, and it is in Newton meters. This is something that interests Conrad. It's a 7-speed automated manual.
Yeah, the Manumatic. They've got a
Manumatic.
like a
That's what it's called.
DSG.
Yep. 23.
Rita was looking for a Manumatic.
Rita is. There she goes. 23 on the city, 27 on the highway, and 25 miles per gallon combined. It is an 18.5-gallon fuel tank, so you can go back and forth to Rita's house quite a bit. Vented discs, electronic power steering on the ride and handling with 235/60/18s or the 255/45/20s with alloy wheels. This vehicle, depending on mileage and condition, is anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000. Average below reliability rating, but it's got high safety scores. I tried to put those two together. I couldn't fathom it. Average cost for maintenance per year is around $6,100. Now,
Rita doesn't come to your house.
no.
She should, though, because
should.
she lives with her mother, so you can't
Well,
go
that's
there.
the maintenance fee. With
But
Mom.
but
Yeah.
Rita started in 1909. If we're going to go through the review,
There
of
you
the
go. Well,
logos.
one more thing here in just a moment, and we will. On the recalls, you've got 5 recalls with airbag seat belts, 2 of them on brakes, and then a structural recall. 0 investigations and 47 complaints. Now, last week's vehicle had 1,200 complaints. Now, getting to the logos, prior to the time that Audi became a company on its own, it was part of an auto union company. In the 30s, these 4 companies banded together. This essentially were the 4 rings that you see on the logo for today.
Audi,
I like
Audi, DKW, Horsch, and Wanderer.
Yes.
Were each of the
those-
4
well,
rings.
the way in order is Audi, Horsch, Wanderer, and then DKW in
Okay.
order of the rings from left to right. And this happened before World War II, and then, of course, those 4 companies, were responsible for making the finest race cars in Germany during World War II.
According to them.
According to them at the time. And, of course, that's when the logo started, and they used that logo on all the racing cars as well. And you see it today.
And that auto union went like 300 miles an hour on the Autobahns
Right.
back in the 30s.
Exactly. Well, the story is very, very lengthy on this, but you can look it up, and you can see more of the pictures as well. The end.
It's a Volkswagen.
You could.
Well, it's part of the Volkswagen family of
yeah.
vehicles.
Well, yeah, it's an upscale Volkswagen.
No,
Don't-
it's not. Well, today they do share some platforms.
A lot.
Yeah. Well, I think the Q8 is an Atlas shared platform.
It's the Huckleberry of the vehicle.
Ding, 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 ding.
The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube at InWheelTime.com. Podcasts available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, TuneIn, Google Podcast, Pandora, Amazon, and Podcast Addict. Rita's In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break. And we hope that you're going to stay with us because we have much more coming here on the In Wheel Time Car Show.
Let me tell you about a locally owned and operated group of dealerships called Bayway. Bayway owner Daryl Wisniewski is born and raised right here, and he knows Houstonians better than anyone. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, Bayway Lincoln, and Bayway Chevrolet are managed by Lincoln Stahl. And when you get to know these guys, you'll want to become part of the Bayway family too. Feel good that you're part of Houstonian-owned Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.com, BaywayChevrolet.com, and BaywayLincoln.com. Remember the name, Bayway. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy, weather permitting. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net.
Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's a miracle. It's the In Wheel Time Car Show, your weekly go-to all things automotive place. Today, coming to you from the Lupe Tortilla on 5969, the Southwest Freeway, and the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In.
I can't believe we actually won awards for this. I just have fun doing it.
They were all high on something.
And so were we.
And so were we. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Zekin, and Chief Engineer David Ainsley. We sure appreciate you joining us today. I'm Don Armstrong, and I was Don Armstrong. I don't know what I am this morning or today.
Confused.
But, confused. What's the movie? Dazed and Confused. That's it.
I thought that was a Led Zeppelin song.
I think it's a movie, too, isn't it?
To me, it's a Led Zeppelin
Yeah,
song.
Led Zeppelin song. Dazed and Confused. Did you ever see Dazed and Confused?
I think
It was on the other night.
It was.
And you would be the one to watch that.
It's on.
It had a lot to do with dope smoking, didn't it?
I don't remember.
I think that exactly.
The physical graffiti
I
album.
forgot.
Yeah, where's the pizza?
That's right.
Mike's mind is in a fog.
It is again. All right, so who's our guest, Mr. Mars?
You know, we've been sitting here looking at it and talking about that 67 Nova out there.
Gorgeous.
Mike Hellman is the owner, and he is joining us to give us some more information.
Michael, thank you so much. We want to be you today. We love the Nova.
Oh, yeah.
When you rolled in on that, everybody's going, hey, ooh, that car. And it's even got the dog dish hubcaps on it. What kind of motors it got in
Well, it's
it?
got the V on the side. Which
What
indicates
kind of
it's a-
motors it got in it?
It's a V8, yes.
Yeah?
It's a 283.
283. Stock?
Original motor, never been out of the car.
Really?
Awesome.
The car's got 52,000 original miles.
How cool is that?
It gets better. The paint, the white paint, is original.
No.
Was the blue roof a factory color combo on it?
Yeah, that was an option. You could get a vinyl roof, or you could get a two-tone
Painted colored
yeah.
roof. Okay.
And so it matches out to a C-D, which is C as the white and D is the top.
Okay.
So on the little.
How long have you had it?
I found it in 2006.
Where?
Well, believe it or not, eBay, but it didn't sell. It was reserve not met. So I messaged the guy and then
negotiated the deal.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be a dealer in, I think it's Rigby or Rugby, North Dakota. I think it's Rigby, North Dakota. Can't remember now. But and that dealership was probably about as big as this building here, just a small dealership apparently, and the dealer took it in on trade for a new Impala.
Oh, you're kidding me.
From the brother of the original owner. The original owner passed away.
Yeah.
And so he left it to the brother. The brother went to the dealership and just said, hey, I'm going to trade this in. What do you give for it? And
Oh, my gosh.
And the dealer stole it.
the dealer probably stole it, yeah. But
You didn't, but the
I
dealer
was
did.
talking to the guy, and he's like, it looks just as good as my new ones here, And I'm like, right. But it did look nice. So,
So to come with all the documentation?
yeah, it has a protective plate,
okay.
and it had some other documents. And it had the original wheels in the trunk when I got it. But I negotiated the deal with the guy, and then I couldn't find anyone to go get it because, transport doesn't go
And North
through.
Dakota's not real on the main.
It's not on the main
No,
route.
this town is 10 miles south of the border, the Canadian border. So
It's way up there.
oh,
The
yeah.
boonies are a long drive from there.
Right.
Yeah. They don't even speak a language up there. I think it's all sign language because everything's frozen.
Just
Right.
find somebody going to Sturgis.
Right. But I finally found someone to go grab it. It's a one-car hauler, enclosed hauler, and he brought it back, and it cost me a little bit more. But
Yeah.
finally, I think it took like 6 weeks to find someone to go up there.
Well,
But,
I'm surprised that you didn't go up there. Has it got an automatic transmission in it?
It does. It has a power glide, and it runs like a top. I mean, it had a little miss when I first got it, and I never could figure out what the miss was. I mean, I looked at the points. I looked at I looked at everything, and it turned out to be the original plug wires. They looked
you're
fine.
kidding me.
No, the wires looked fine, but there was
There's
no
a bleed out
cracks
somewhere.
So I replaced the plug wires, and then the mist is gone.
So, in other words, you
Replace the plug wires on a 50-year-old car.
You've not
Go figure.
You've not done anything to it other than replace the plug wires, and you drive it now and then.
Hopefully
No,
tires.
it has new tires. The painted the wheels. The engine. I don't know if you saw the engine block. The dealer's son had rattle canned the engine. He didn't do a very good job. He got orange here and there, so I had to redo that. So I kind of went in and made the engine, repainted it a little bit.
You fiddled with
I
it.
fiddled with it, but I tried to make it look, like,
Yeah.
I didn't
Like
want to make it
unfiddled
look
with.
like a brand
Was it
new.
clean? Was it clean?
Oh yeah, I mean that very clean, and the interior is original. Believe it
Oh,
or
wow.
not. Yeah, believe
Well,
it.
at
or not.
it's a
52,000
real
miles, I'm
original.
sure whoever owned it, not only did they not drive it very much, they probably babied it when they
Right.
did, and it was probably, grandma's car.
Well, the original owner was a man, but there was a little book in the glove box. Opened it up, and it had like every oil change and every. I mean, he was just an anal guy and just kept the stuff. Really
Well,
good.
and the thing,
Recorded the service.
yeah, and
Yeah.
up there, from people, I know some people that live up in Iowa and stuff, and their driving season on vehicles like this is very short.
That's a good point. yeah.
And so, they don't put that many miles on it if they really keep it in the garage and take care of it, like this one obviously was. You just don't drive it 8 or 10 months a year up there.
I mean, it does have some little chips behind the rear wheel on the lower quarter.
Oh,
And
darn.
apparently, there's these little stipply, and apparently the story on that is the guy lived on on a hill with a gravel road. So he used to drive up.
See, those are the things, though, but that's the character of the car.
Right.
And personally, I would never do anything to them. That story goes hand in hand with how that happened.
Call it was patina.
Yeah. Now I've done one other thing I did. You probably didn't notice, but it has a single speaker on the back rear deck. The back shelf there.
Yeah.
And it has a rear defroster as a rectangular grill next to it, kind of like.
Probably was an option in the car.
Yeah.
But North Dakota, you
Well,
have to.
no, the rear defroster did not come in this car as ordered, okay, but it was an option.
Mm-hmm.
So I found one. I got the grill, and there's actually 2 6x9 speakers under there. You'd never know, but
Jensen Triax.
Pioneers. Thinking Pioneer.
so one of the girls is a 6x9, the other one's a 6x9. So no defroster. You'd never know.
Yeah. It looks gorgeous.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it
For a 55-year-old car, that's beautiful.
Yeah, they always say the factory didn't put them together too well and this and that, but pretty straight. I mean, I was surprised in all the trim and everything. Pretty straight.
You do all your maintenance, or do you take it to a Chevy dealer?
No, I do everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd.
Is
bring
it your
to a
only
Chevy.
collector car?
No, I have. Let's see. I have a few others. I like original cars. I have a '68 Camaro RSSS original.
What motor?
Another original paint.
What motor?
It has a 396.
Oh, wow.
350.
350, okay,
horse,
hydraulic
yeah.
cam.
And then I have a '69 convertible Camaro that I bought in California in 1999.
What motor?
That has a 350.
Okay.
And
Is it an X11 car?
no, it has power windows, which is
Okay.
kind of rare.
Very, very rare.
Tilt steering
convertible?
column. Yeah, for a convertible. It has power top. So it has a lot of cool options. Factory air.
Even
In a convertible?
odder in a convertible.
Yeah, it's hard to find those options. I guess back in the day, Camaros, you just check off every box. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. It wasn't like today where they have packages.
Yeah, you either buy
Yeah.
it like this or you don't buy it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but-
could literally sit down, and I remember doing that one time.
You actually
What do you
still
want? What do you
still
want?
can do that. You can get online to a manufacturer and you can order what you want.
Oh, good luck.
Kathy did that to her car.
Did she?
Yeah.
But back then, a Camaro might have been a $4,000 car, and if you checked every option, it's a $4,800 car.
It wasn't a
Today-
$4,000 car.
Oh no.
It would have been a $2,000 car.
Okay, well, but still, you check every option, probably $1,000. Today, you check every option. Listening to you guys talk about some of these, and all of a sudden, it's $25,000.
It's $10,000 for that one engine option
right.
today.
They package stuff today. Back
Yeah.
then, they didn't necessarily package stuff.
No, like the technology package, for instance, today you get all this stuff with it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
another option on this car is an 8-track player, which is very rare.
It's got an 8-track in
And
it.
Oh, yeah.
And if you ordered the center console, they had nowhere to put it because it's this big hunking unit,
Right.
And what they came up with, General Motors, I guess, is they mounted it on the center console lid, the part that opens up so you could put
Right.
whatever in. They mounted it and it's backwards, like the buttons face the front of the dash. So you have to control
That
it.
is so weird.
without
The
even looking
factory
at
did that.
Yeah. I'll bring it next month if you guys are here.
Oh,
If
we're gonna be in Katy.
we're scheduled to be out at the Katy store.
Oh, I went to that one. Maybe I'll bring it out
Yeah,
there.
bring it out
there.
We'd
Yeah.
love to see
Yeah,
it.
it's a cool car. Like I said, 69 convertible.
Well, that's Don's dream car. Is a 69.
Well, yeah. Mine is a 69 Z28.
Oh, yeah, that's
302
iconic.
model. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's my dream car.
So's Don.
That I'll never have.
Don's dream
Yeah.
car, but he doesn't have the bankroll to push it.
That's why
Right.
it's a dream car.
But he is
Well,
iconic.
Yeah, I mean the thing about these cars is the longer you keep them, the values just kept going up. So
Yeah.
I mean that Camaro, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll tell you. I paid $11,000 for that 69 in 1999.
Okay, that's it. He's off the show.
Think about your
We're done with him.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. So, do you have any aspirations to increase the collection?
You looking for a
At this
2001
point,
Corvette or anything?
No, I just bought I don't have it yet, so I can't really talk about it. It looks really nice, but they always need something,
Right.
I bought a 72 Firebird Formula, which is a
72?
Yeah, it's a 72 400. It's got the 400 engine.
Okay.
It's got the two little dual scoops
Yeah,
on the front of
it's
it.
got those two snouts.
Snorkel
on.
looking.
And that's the before they tilted the front end. It's still a very vertical
Yes.
front grille on it.
Yeah, and it has the kind of the beak in the front.
Right.
That
5 mile an hour
Endura
bumper.
front bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it urethane?
yeah, urethane bumper. That's their crash. I guess
solution.
that started with the 68 GTO because I had
Correct.
one of those, but I sold it. That's John DeLorean's kind of
Toy.
Yeah.
idea. So it has that, and it's a factory 4-speed M22, which is they call that the Rock Crusher.
Right.
Right.
So it's got I think it's going to be a cool car.
Do you have these in a
Sounds like
collection in a warehouse or at the house? And do you live near here?
Actually, I do.
Don't give Jeff the address.
I'm not going to give you the exact
What's the address?
location of all these cars. No.
Well, the Formula would be a cool car.
I like the second gen Camaros and Firebirds. I actually like Pontiacs a lot. Every Pontiac I've had has been great.
And 72 is still the small rear glass, right? They didn't. That isn't when they expanded the rear glass on
No,
that.
I think it's the smaller
Small
one.
rear
Yeah.
glass.
So it should be fun with the 4-speed.
Yeah.
But no, I keep some at home in a garage, and then I have my buddy who owns that
Mangusta.
Ford. Well,
Oh.
he's my buddy too, but my other buddy, who owns that Ford GT, Charlie, he has a warehouse with a car collection. And I keep some of them. We've known each other a long time. So help him out with the taxes on the building.
There you go.
So, but yeah, that's about it for me. But like I said,
Cool.
I have a car addiction, and the only way to satisfy that is to just buy them, play, and sell.
It's a passion.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's a passion. So, anyway,
You know this guy?
I do. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
known each other a long time, 30-something years, I guess.
So this is the guy that you were telling us about.
Yeah, because he was talking about the
Yeah.
guy that owned the Nova.
Got it.
Yeah, we're both MH.
MH
Yeah,
They're
initials
Aggies.
MH. We're
Oh,
both
yeah.
Aggies. We're both Aggies.
okay.
and Motorheads.
The things
They
I
both
do
like
remember
cars
are the
and-
right ones, right? You're an Aggie.
Well, I can't tell you. This
So
is
where'd the third one go? Is he still over by the fire?
Yeah, he wore shorts today, so he's a little
little chilled.
little
Gosh, I
chilly.
wonder who wore shorts on the panel here.
That would be Conrad.
Let me show
Please
you my
don't show us
pasty
that.
whites.
No, we don't want to see any of that. But we sure have had a fun day today with you guys down here.
And some very cool cars showed up. today.
Yeah, very.
Even though it wasn't a bunch, the quality of the cars was awesome.
The stories outweighed the quantity.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I have to tell you that we do a lot of remote broadcasts at cruise-ins and car shows and that sort of stuff. But I have to say that this has probably been one of the most fun, thanks to you guys
Oh, yeah,
and
for
your
sure.
buddies that have showed up here. And one thing that I want to make mention of the fact is that even though that we're all here in the Houston area together, there's a different bunch of car guys here,
Yeah.
the interloopers here, than there
exactly.
is out there in Katy. Now, that's not to say that you guys don't go out there to Katy, but different cars, and from our experience, like, for instance, we do a car show down there at Woody's car show down
Waterfront
Santa Fe.
Grill down in San Leon.
in
San
San Leon.
Down at the Topwater Grill.
And it's a different kind of car show. Have you ever been? You guys ever been? I would
It's
suggest
a long drive from 45.
it is, but you would really enjoy the car show. Yeah, but different cars show up at these different
Oh, yeah.
and at different personalities, and it's really makes it a lot of fun for us, and hopefully for our viewers and our listeners as well, because we talk to all sorts of different people with all sorts of different cars, but it's just different sections of town. This is a big place. Covers hundreds of square miles. And so we sure appreciate you guys coming by today.
Sharing your stories
Yeah.
and your passion. We really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Mangusta.
And we learn something every day. Every time we do
Oh,
this,
yeah,
we
you
learn
talk to
something.
this guy, you learn things every 10 seconds because he's an encyclopedia.
Well,
On cars and planes.
Yeah.
Trains,
I don't know about trains. I don't think he knows much about trains. Yeah.
planes,
But-
trains, and automobiles.
Bills, yeah. Well, there's a classic movie
Yep.
for you. Mm-hmm. Well, you and I could have starred in that movie.
I can see us as the two trucks are squeezing together, catching us on fire.
That's not what I was thinking about.
I was actually thinking of the motel. How about you?
y'all can, particularly when he said squeeze it together, I said, yeah, I can see that.
Oh,
Yep.
gosh.
He's your Huckleberry.
Can we ding?
Word of the day. Where do we go from here?
I'm not real sure.
Well, I was wondering, so-
Y'all ever taken any road trips together?
Or maybe an upcoming one?
Where's Charlie? Y'all
Char-
keep talking about Charlie. Charlie's
I'll
hiding
go get him.
someplace.
He's cold, but I'll bring him
Yeah.
over. It's not as
Yeah.
cold here, but we
Yeah.
go to cruising the coast every year. Charlie and I. do.
Okay.
Been there. I've been there
Biloxi.
once.
It's a
Yep.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Biloxi area.
There's
Yeah.
Charlie.
So
Here he is.
let
Here,
Charlie.
this guy has stories too.
Well, put the
Let him-
headset on Charlie
Hold
here.
on a minute.
And it's great to see you. Mike Hellman, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Charlie? I don't know what your last name is, but it doesn't make any difference because you're a car guy, and I think that you're the Ford GT guy. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'm the guy with the Ford GT, the red car.
So Charlie, what?
Talisman, Talisman.
Talisman Motors?
Yes, in the auto business, 27 years.
Because I when you said Talisman, I said, wait a minute,
I know that too.
I down the freeway, and I'm forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's business?
Since I was a young kid. Yeah, I'm not so young anymore. I got all the gray
None
hair
of us
to prove
are.
it.
Yeah, but you got a fun toy.
Oh, yeah.
So
it hadn't
how's
been
the
bad.
car business?
You know what? It's good. It's all good.
So it's Talisman Motors, right?
Yeah, Talisman Motor City, correct.
Yeah, and
City.
where you've moved a couple of times
Yeah,
down
we were
in
on
that general area.
Yeah, we were on the opposite side. Now we're on the inbound side, 59 to Bissonnette.
Okay. Well, good. It's good to meet you. How long you had the GT?
Well, the first one, I've got a white one as well, and I have a yellow one. I actually like these cars so much.
Apparently.
I have 305s, yeah. The white car I've had the longest is probably about 5 or 6 years. And
white, blue stripes?
Yeah, white with blue stripes, yeah. And that car has about 1,600 miles.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, very low mileage car. When I got it, it had about 700. I mean, I drive the cars. I have about
as little as possible.
No.
But you still want to enjoy
I have a
it.
lot of
switch
cars.
around,
I
yeah.
drive them all, but there's just not enough time.
Can only drive so many cars at a time.
So are you a Houstonian?
Yeah, native Houstonian.
Where'd you go to high school?
I actually went to Westbury High School.
What is Westbury Day?
Dun, dun, dun.
Who went to Westbury?
He went to Westbury High
Yeah,
School.
but Don went to Westbury in the 30s.
Okay, gotcha.
When it was only West.
I
There was no
graduated in
berries.
1983.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Never mind that.
Who was the other person that went to Westbury? Was it?
No, somebody else
No,
was
Mike
sitting
went to
at-
Sharpstown. I'm not
was
sure.
Somebody else was
Sharpstown.
sitting here was at Westbury.
It was our first guest.
Yeah.
Our first guest.
Westbury alumni.
Lipper Garage, yeah.
Proud
Yeah.
alumni.
Yes,
My wife went to Bel Air.
Okay.
The gentleman with the airplanes.
Oh, that's
The
Eric Lipper.
the
Eric
Mustang.
Lipper.
Okay.
Eric
Yeah, the
Lipper.
Mustang.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
grew up together. I've known him since we were kids.
How funny.
He
Small
has
world,
some nice
eh?
cars. Yeah, he has some very nice
What street
cars.
did you live on when you went to Westbury?
Atwell.
Okay, I lived on Ashcroft.
Okay.
So there we go.
Crazy. Yep.
Conrad, where did you live?
I lived in New York.
Did you go to Andy Anderson Elementary?
Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah, I used to walk to Andy Anderson Cross Airport.
Yes,
and yep.
me too.
Interesting.
Yeah. I lived right down Luddington.
Yep.
Almost
I
there at
know-
Hillcroft.
I
You
know,
know where
it well.
exactly- yeah.
I know it well. Yeah, my parents kept that house till 1999.
Yeah.
The house I was not born in, but we moved there when I was in second grade or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You just sold
Yeah,
your parents'
yeah.
house a few years back.
So, where do you live now? In this area?
I live 610 Memorial area.
Okay, 610 Memorial.
Yeah, we
So
lived
you
in Bel Air a long time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Now we're out of there.
Yeah. So you're a Southwest Houston guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Through and through.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm right there with you. Well, I know where you work.
Yes, I can be found.
So I want to know more a little bit, just very briefly. I want to know how is the used car business, because from everything that we've seen and read, it's red hot.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is cars right now, all of a sudden, I feel like there's an asset bubble. So trying to buy them is very hard.
Right.
If you have them, it's good. But if you're trying to buy them, it's hard because it just seems like everything is just bringing more than it's worth.
Right.
And the struggle with it is the new car dealers are running flat on inventory because of all the
chip
restrictions
shortage
and stuff.
Yeah, well, there's a chip shortage,
Right.
and COVID messed everything up. So yeah, it's quite an
So that's
interesting time.
elevating the used car prices for everybody.
Yeah.
So you see everybody.
If you got a good used car to sell, now would be the time to dump it. The problem is you got to buy
go
one.
buy another one.
Got to go buy another one. Correct.
I wouldn't call it dumping. I would call it pre-owned trade.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what kind of cars does Talisman specialize in?
So we have just everyday cars. It's more of a Hyundais, Kias.
Okay.
But the car collection is a whole different story.
Well, tell us a little bit about the collection. We already know you've got 3 GTs.
Yeah. So I've been lately on a little bit of a BMW Z8 fetish. I bought 3 BMW Z8s. I bought a Topaz Blue with Crema, which is one of 138 or something.
Now, do you keep these or do you flip them?
No, I don't really flip any cars. I bought a building, and it's just kind of got my own little car museum.
And what about these two gentlemen? Do y'all flip yours or any of yours?
He does. He
From
already
time
said
to
that.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
You just buy them, and then whenever you...
It's interesting. We do
no longer interested, you can turn it.
We do a feature on the Facebook page called Unicorn Hunting. And just this week, a Z8 was in our unicorn hunting
nice.
thing.
What
So
color?
it's silver.
Yeah. So if you look on the market, it's all silver ones.
What's up with that?
They only made, I think, is it 5,300 worldwide, and a lot of I guess they were worth more overseas, so a lot of them have left the U.S. and gone overseas. So basically the three that I have a black red, which is probably the most common. The topaz with the crema is one of 138, and I just bought a red. They call it Hellrot Red with crema. This car is a bit of a unicorn. It's only 1,600 original miles.
Oh, wow.
I just bought it from a guy. It was in Scottsdale, and a Canadian gentleman has like 75 cars. Anyway, he owned this car for 16 years, put 400 miles on it.
Have any of you been to Mecum in Houston just recently?
Yeah, we went to Mecum. Okay. But anyway, I bought this car, and it's just incredible. 1,600-mile car.
Beautiful car.
Would you be interested in buying a car show? I mean, y'all could just come right over here.
You're right.
Yeah, there's that.
Good idea.
Well, it's great to have you guys stop by.
No
great
problem.
to meet you. Westbury High School.
I love it.
Westbury reunion day here
Yeah,
today.
pretty much. Yeah. Well, we don't want to talk about that
on the
either.
Ford GTs of the 4,038 made, this is an interesting little tidbit. 25% of them have been wrecked. So that means 1 in 4 of the 4,038 you see, they've been wrecked because when these cars came out, people didn't know how to drive them.
And when you own one, there's a countdown. Because every time one goes away, value increases. Because I know I got a bunch of friends with the Supras,
those
96,
things gone
95
parabolic.
Supras.
Jeez.
And they know every time one wrecks, everybody's valuing.
Yeah.
It's like
sees
Bitcoin.
a value
or
increase.
one gets crushed.
Right.
Well, thanks so much for stopping by. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
We really do appreciate it. Hope to run into you again. Next month, the 15th, Lupe's in Katy, Texas.
Out on 99 and Kingsland.
Yeah. All right. A couple of stories. Can we save your
Yes.
car clinic?
Yes.
Okay. General Motors North American production hammered harder than any of its rivals last week by the unrelenting global shortage of microchips. Latest figures from Auto Forecast Solutions show GM accounted for more than 73,500 of the 113,000 vehicles taken out
of production
Yikes. Schedules. Not good. Did you see where Nero is in town?
No.
So this autonomous company,
yes. Yeah,
Domino's Pizza in Nero, Silicon Valley startup, said on Monday that it'll launch robotic pizza delivery here in Houston, which it did this week, seeking to capitalize on rising online orders caused by the pandemic. Well, we hope that that's on the downslope now.
Yes.
With a small, low-speed vehicle to carry packages instead of people, the robot company has been pulling ahead of other autonomous startups and gaining regulatory approvals for on-road vehicle deployment. Kroger, Walmart, CVS, Health Corp, they're hoping to use the same kind of technology in the not-too-distant future. But look for some odd-looking vehicle coming down the street.
And you also heard that Nissan has had to slash some production in May from the chip shortage.
Everybody is cutting production. Matter of fact, Chief Executive of Intel Corp told Reuters on Monday the company is in talks to start producing chips for car makers to help alleviate the shortage. Pat Gelsinger said the company's talking to companies that design chips for automakers about manufacturing those chips inside Intel's factory network with the goal of producing chips within 6 to 9 months. Well, that's a day late and a dollar short, isn't it? I don't quite understand all of that, but
270 days late.
Yeah, something like that. And GM plans to roll out a more convenient in-vehicle navigation system this month for select 2018 model year and newer vehicles. Look for that. It's called Mapbox. So that's coming.
And Spring Hill, Tennessee, GM, where they're going to be building the Cadillac Lyriq, they're also going to be building their new Ultima batteries as well.
Okay, we're going to wrap up things here on today's show right after a quick break. Stay with us.
Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, May 15th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free and everyone's invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupe Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupe founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, May 15th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise in, May 15th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupe's in Katy. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the most sought-after models in the Houston area today. When you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, you now have a place to go. General Manager Lincoln Stahl guarantees Bayway will beat any competitor's written price on the new vehicle you choose or pay you $1,000. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is easy to get to on Highway 225 near Beltway 8 in Pasadena. Whether it's online or in person, you're welcome like one of the family. Bayway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.com. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? You found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com.
Well, that's it for this episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. When you're on Facebook, please give us a like, tell your friends about us, and share our junk. You'll get Conrad's unicorn hunting features along with all things automotive all week long. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and on InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available on Pandora, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and others. Special thanks to all of our guests today. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is the fabulous David Ainsley. Our video technical director, sales and marketing man, Jeffrey Zekin. This week's In Wheel Time Car Show produced and directed by Stanton Holt. For booking agent, podcast man Mike Out of This World Mars, his royalty king Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our next live show next Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time, where we'll be broadcasting from Studio A in Texas, USA. Right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network. Goodbye for now, everybody.